You are about to opt in to Monerotopia, a show for the Monero community where all are welcome to join. From noob to maxi, no matter what bags you hold. Just sit back and relax to the sweet sounds of Monero's latest progress. Or if you're feeling inspired, join us on stage. Remember, the only thing that can stop Monero is a false belief that it can be stopped. And if you want to win the revolution faster, we recommend you remove your XMR from all custodial exchanges immediately. Warning, voting accidents are common around here. Don't forget to properly secure your private keys. Monerotopia starts now.
Alrighty.
Hello, hello, hello.
What's up, stranger?
Cheers. Hello, everyone. I've been MIA for quite some time now.
She's back, but
I'm back only for a limited time only.
Where have you been?
Cheers. I've been clearly running away. We're not in the same
You
location.
clearly ran away. You're not even here anymore.
We're not even here anymore, guys. How's it going? How you been?
I miss you.
Aw, I missed you too.
Yeah, Sunita's not with me for a day or two, but I'll be seeing her later this evening.
Yes.
I hope.
Yes. My munchkin, one of my nephews got surgery, so
I'm so
spending
lost.
some time with the familia.
Lost without you over here.
Oh, please. You're fine. You figured it out. As you always do.
Yeah, we got Sunita on today because Tux can't make it. So Sunita jumped up.
I've jumped
Appreciate
up.
that. So it's a big week. You picked a big week to
I know.
pinch hit here. This is a big week. Have you been following any of the fiascos? I know you've been busy with family stuff.
A little bit, but yeah, catch me up.
Where do I begin? Well, you'll hear it all over the next 3 to 4 hours. Sure.
Oh my god.
No, let's not make it too long today.
Yeah.
Big thing was the hack. So the Monero CCS wallet was hacked.
That's
I mean, the
crazy.
drama it's just endless, right? The drama is just endless in crypto in general. But yeah, in our own little Monero world, there's endless drama here. So nobody knows what happened. We know that Fluffy Pony had access to the keys at some point, and because he was the one who started it, and Luigi, who's the one who was running it, had access to the keys. So he was the one that was controlling the wallet, and he had it running on his setup there, and it was hacked, or the keys were somehow compromised when Fluffy was sending them to Luigi back in the day. Or maybe even Fluffy Ricardo's throwing out that maybe this was even some kind of like deeper hack where we're seeing where old school Bitcoiners and Monero people and Ether people are just losing their wallets, right? Like people are essentially figuring out how to break their seeds. I don't know what's going on with that. That's to me that's scarier than all of this, right? Because if that's the case, like I don't know what's going on there. So that had me worried. I've heard about it a while ago, but I never really stopped to take action. So last night I felt inspired to try to check on some old wallets. I recommend other people do that, and move your coins to a new one. It's not easy being your own bank.
No,
it's
not. It's stressful. Pros and cons to
especially when your own bank involves, running open source software that a bunch of cypherpunks are building as we go along. So you got to be vigilant. You got to take care of your own stuff. I know it's very difficult. Trust me, I know. Especially. It's hard because we all have our lives and the other things we're doing. We're used to outsourcing these responsibilities. But if you're going to do the crypto thing and you're going to try to do it the right way, you got to be responsible. You got to take time. You got to organize your stuff, move stuff around, stay updated. I'm kind of telling myself this.
I'm aware of that.
I was
and
hoping,
do it often.
so you could just keep an old seed around, from whenever years ago and not have to worry about it. But there's, I don't know. Things are
Yeah,
never.
it's a huge responsibility.
So we'll get into all that. We'll get to the details. We'll get to the details of what exactly happened. Justin Ernhofer, we were trying to get him on. He recently put out and posted a blog post, I think today or late last night.
Late last night, yeah.
Tracing the hacker. So yes, Monero is untraceable, but as we all know, there's some ways where you can potentially gain information if people don't do the proper things because of the weakness of ring signatures. So they were able to gain some insight into where the Monero or watching the Monero move, right, and potentially and alerting exchanges as to whether or not they see a transaction that might come from that have the decoys or the e-notes that this transaction had. So we'll get into all that, lots to cover, and then we'll talk about big picture, just Monero CCS in general. Is it something that needs to be changed? Is it organically just going to change on its own as people come up with new solutions? So lots and lots to chat about with regards to all that. But I guess we'll start with the price report. We'll try to move it along because I have a feeling it's going to be a long topic. Oh, and then we also have
I wanted to mention
we do have a special guest unrelated to all these incidents, right? We have Dan, who's going to come on from Mexico. What's that?
No, yeah. I was going to say the same thing and something else I was going to say.
Yeah, Dan's going to come on and talk about the fundraising that's happened in Mexico after the hurricane. A lot of Monero was raised.
Otis.
What's that?
The Hurricane Otis, yes.
Yes, the Hurricane Otis. And he's down there. I think he's the one that's like trying to actually use the crypto to actually do productive things with it down there. So we'll hear from him.
And then last but not least, we're going to Argentina next week. We want to talk about quickly the meetup that we plan on doing.
Yeah, we're going to Argentina next week. Going for LaBitconf, and we're gonna try to throw like a little brunch right on Sunday.
Yeah, on Sunday. We'll be tweeting it out tomorrow. For those of you that are,
It's Friday and Saturday. It's a huge conference. Thousands of people go. It's all like mainly Bitcoiners, but they're Monero friendly. And so we'll be down there. Andres will be giving a talk down there. We'll be giving out Monero and trying to onboard people. But we're also going to have the day after the conference a little brunch. So we'll post that location. Do you have the location? Do we know? Did we decide?
I don't think we've decided yet per se, but we're leaning towards Viva Cafe. But we'll post it tomorrow. Yeah,
Viva Cafe. If you're listening, we'll post the link. It's in the area where
it's in Palermo, Hollywood, I believe, in that area.
Come out, 10 people to come out, hang out, have brunch.
Yeah, we'll post that tomorrow. But yeah, that's about it. That's the weekly update.
All right, yeah, let's move. We're already 10 minutes in. Let's get Bawdy up here. Let's do price report. Keep moving.
All righty, let's do this. The Monerotopia Price Report segment is sponsored by Local Monero. Avoid using KYC exchanges. Buy and sell Monero directly for fiat, peer-to-peer.
Hey, what's up, guys?
All right. Hey, Bawdy, what's going on, man? How you doing?
Welcome back, Sunita.
Oh, Sunita, you're muted.
Well, welcome back.
I'm doing it on my laptop, so I think it's lagging on my end, sadly, guys.
Okay. Yeah, I always have to like slightly change my configuration, like taking my VPN off so that I, get that half a second removal of delay, stuff like that.
Yeah. Constant battle. How you doing, man? What's your take on all that? I mean, we'll get into it later, I'm sure, but how you feeling about the Monero CCS hack?
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised that someone at that level would have been keeping their Monero in that kind of way. Like, in my mind, something as simple as just using cubes could have prevented all this. There's like a guide for how you can keep your wallet in an offline cube and then run your Monero node on a Unix machine, which connects directly to Tor. even that would have removed like a big question mark over a lot of different attack vectors that happened here. I just I just can't believe, why would you run Windows? Why would you use the insecure hot wallet Windows to log in to the what's supposed to be to SSH into the more secure machine, which is supposed to be Ubuntu, which isn't really a security distro in the first place? Like, okay, if you're an expert, you know what you're doing, you know how to configure Windows and Ubuntu, then okay, maybe that could be a reasonable setup. But if you don't know what you're doing, then you really should be going with cubes or a hardware wallet, or a separate laptop that's isolated, that's never been connected to the internet to sign transactions. So I honestly just can't understand that. I think it would be cool if like either we just contributed directly to people that are making CSS proposals, or like maybe if we had, say, 3 different people that manage CSS funds or CCS funds, and when you submit a CCS, you just say, hey, I like this guy, I trust this guy, I verified their setup, whatever. So I want to go, with person A of these, of these 3 people. So you kind of spread that risk a little bit. I don't know. I mean, that's just one idea. It seems like it also should be. Oh, there's my reminder that the show is about to start. It seems like actually that's did the time change happen yet? Usually that's supposed to
No, I
go
think
off
it's
an hour
tomorrow.
earlier. Interesting. But yeah, anyway, so like usually, I kind of lost my train of thought there, but yeah, anyways, it's just a whole weird situation. Oh, it seems like escrow would be also another good way to go, like some kind of
Yeah.
multi-sig where you contribute to the CCS. If if the guy that's managing it, probably, I mean, I don't think Luigi, I don't know much about him, but he's spoken fairly highly of. But after this kind of miss, it's like, it's hard to say that he should keep managing those funds. But that's for other people to decide, I think, not me. But at any rate, it's a multi-sig. Let's suppose I want to contribute to a project, and then either me and the recipient can coordinate, to sign that transaction, or the guy managing the CCS can sign that transaction, right? That seems like a pretty reasonable way to go as well. Seems like anything would be better than what we had going on just previously.
Yeah, I think some kind of multi-sig would be good. But we'll get into all this, I'm sure, more and more. The thing that really scares me, though, is Fluffy keeps bringing up this. He's like, it's entirely possible that's related to the ongoing attacks that we've seen since April, as they include a variety of compromised keys, including Bitcoin wallets, seeds generated with all manner of hardware and software, and includes XMR. The hack recently started seeing some more sweeps happen, and they can tell that it's from the same hack, since the surveillance chain sweeps go to the same cluster of addresses. That's terrifying to me, right? Have you been following that at all? These
Yeah, that is kind of scary. I definitely rotated some keys when that was all happening.
Yeah,
I
started
kind of
doing
think
it
it's
last night out of fear. No, I kind of I guess ignored it at first. The problem is you have so much going. Like I was saying in the onset of this, right? Like it takes work to be your own bank.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you got to be a little proactive, right?
Yeah, I tend to think that it was sort of a so I think you covered it. We covered it like a couple of months ago with MilkSad, and then the LastPass breach and all that.
Yeah.
I tend to think it's a combination of a few different kind of major vectors that people still haven't fixed or caught up from. But maybe it's something deeper, right? Maybe there's a hardware problem with randomness generation,
Yeah.
or some like known algorithm has been hacked by the NSA, right? I mean, we couldn't really rule those things out. Although it does seem a bit strange, because I think the way that a lot of this randomness and the entropy is generated for different wallets, like we're using different libraries across different coins. I don't know. Perhaps like some key hardware element is also compromised, and that's causing problems. But yeah, I mean, it is kind of scary because you just don't know. So the safest thing to do is to rotate your keys, rotate your seed phrases. Probably, if you can, generate. So use an offline computer, completely offline, to generate those keys, and then roll some dice and add that entropy into the generation, so that if you have like a compromised hardware module, or some kind of like compromised algorithm that's generating those keys. You add some dice rolls into there, get some extra entropy, hopefully, and then keep yourself safe. Rotating your keys is also a risk point in and of itself. So yeah, it's not easy to be your own bank.
It's stressful. It's stressful. It really is. It really is.
That's why my personal opinion is kind of like, we can't exactly expect grandma to be doing all this on her own. Like crypto is still not ready. No crypto is ready for like prime time adoption, replace fiat or anything like that. It's still like, you still have to be fairly responsible, and there are people that are unable to do that. So that's just the reality of where we're at.
I mean, we get the benefit of being the early adopters, right? But it comes with great risk, right? So we're here early, but we're using this technology at a more risky time. But the likely scenario is that your Monero will be worth more in 5-10 years from now than what it is today. But you're taking the risk in being the early adopter and using this tech on the onset, right?
I still think there's a lot of to me, it's kind of like when we talk about graphene, we're like, listen, why haven't you gotten like a Pixel 6a, for a couple $100 and installed graphene, right? Like, it's a secure system. It's the most secure private phone you're going to find out on the market, unless like we've just missed some big project. I say the same thing about cubes. Like, if you get an old laptop, like you could even get a ThinkPad 220, was it a 220T? I always get these kind of mixed up. Anyways, there's like two major ThinkPad brands before Intel ME, but you don't even have to do that. Just get any old laptop that is compatible with cubes, install it, and then run your crypto wallets. Like, isolate every single one of them. Only do crypto on that laptop, maybe secure banking. But what you've done is just totally isolated a lot of problems, like that whole LastPass problem. Okay, you have a separate virtual machine for your key, your password manager, right? So only that virtual machine contains your password manager. It can't be stealing your keys from all of your other wallets. Like, just something as simple as isolating your system with a Cubes machine, a dedicated laptop that'll cost you, a few $100s at most. Install Cubes and just isolate your activities in a way, and you'll sleep with much, much greater peace of mind. I mean, I guess a hardware wallet does the same thing. I'm a bit of a shitcoiner from time to time, so I sometimes need to access shitcoin wallets, which means I want to isolate them into a separate environment. And sometimes hardware wallets are a little bit cumbersome. I mean, people say, "Oh, Cubes is so hard." Listen, I'll be honest. The first time I installed Cubes, I was about halfway into a bottle of tequila in Puerto Vallarta, and I was like playing with Linux and trying to do like a dual boot setup and trying to do all this stuff. And I didn't even know how to use the command line at the time. I was like, man, this seems really difficult. Could I just install Cubes? All right, let me try it. Let me just try it. Maybe everyone says it's advanced for, the hackers, whatever. I don't know what the hell I'm doing, but let me try it. And it it was fine. Like, I booted it up and it's like, oh, this is actually pretty easy. Wow, I wish I'd done this, a week ago. So it's not as hard as people think. If you can make an ISO, if you can make a bootable USB, if you've ever installed Linux, you can run Cubes. Like, it is a little bit of a learning curve, but you're smart enough to do it. I promise you, you'll figure it out. Like, it's such an easy way to protect your crypto. Okay, rant. /rant.
Yeah. I get what you're saying, but yeah, that's not the solution for average Joe, right? That's not the solution for the average Joe.
Maybe not for your normie, but if you've installed Linux, like if you know how to make a bootable USB and you've dropped that onto a laptop, you've done that before, you can install and run Cubes. You're smart enough to run Cubes. It's not nearly as complex as you might think.
Yeah. Well, I represent the normies, right? I think that's kind of my role here in the space too, being the bridge between guys like you and the normies. We do need the normie solutions, because without the normies, we're not going to have a Monero economy. At the end of the day, this needs to be a tool that people can rely on and just use as money, right?
But
exactly. Early days, people are going to have to do a little extra work. I do think it's as simple as, though, just generating your private seed, your private keys in a way that you can rely on, that there was no greatly eliminating the potential for any hacking or anything like that. So, like, offline computer, generate a seed, send Monero to it. You should be good to go with that, right? And write down your seed. I mean,
yeah, I would say those are like
that.
Those are the three main solutions, right?
Yeah.
Offline laptop that you've ripped out the Wi-Fi, completely wiped the hard drive. Maybe you're running Tails. Okay. hardware wallet, or cubes. Like one of those three solutions is within reach of 99% of people in crypto right now.
Yeah. But you should just be able to rely on generating a wallet in Cake, right? It should just be just as reliable, right? Because that's what the normies are going to be doing, right? And they're relying on that. And they're writing down their seed, and they should be able to sleep well at night with that. So, all right, Bawdy, I guess take it away on price, and we will continue this conversation, I'm sure.
Bawdy, quick question though. Oh, sorry. You have two charts in Backstage. Do you need both of them? Yeah, no, because the thing is, we cap our viewers on stage section. So I guess when you can, keep going, keep doing what you're doing. Just making you aware.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, wow. You know what had happened? You know what? I won't explain it. It's some technical dumbness.
Okay.
I'm afraid to shut one of them down because
no, don't worry about it.
Is the one I'll exit them both when
you're finished.
When
yeah, totally. All right, take it away, my friend.
Cool. Okay, so we got the Monero chart in front of us here. Price is kind of doing that thing where it pumps. We get the mega pump, and then it kind of fizzles out, and you're like, okay, maybe when is the next pump going to happen? Bitcoin kind of did this thing where it looked like it was going to break this triangle, and then it was like, nah, just kidding. Let's see if I can find that. Maybe I deleted that chart already. That's a shame. That's too bad. Okay, anyways, let's go to the 8-hour. We'll take off the wave magic here, and then essentially what happened is Bitcoin had this kind of like triangle pattern here, and then it broke to the upside with this big green dildo right here, and everyone's like, yeah, okay, we're breaking this big long-term line here, and then it just kind of fizzled out. So to me right now, I'm becoming very suspicious of this pump. I'm becoming suspicious of how much longer it can last, but that doesn't mean that it can't pump more, right? Like I missed most of this. I was sitting out for most of that. It wasn't until right around here that I was like, yeah, okay, this thing could probably pump. But still, you can notice we've got this really big long-term rising resistance here, and we're effectively sitting at that. And things have broken this resistance once before. So to me, this looks very much like the same pattern that we've seen all year long, where you get this kind of massive pump out of nowhere, and then you kind of just fizzle out at the top. You get these little fake out kind of BART charts. Like, for example, this guy right here. That was a BART chart if you go down into a shorter time frame, like if you look at the 1 hour, the 2 hour, something like that. So yeah, that's kind of what's happening right now. Monero did get a nice little bump this past week, which is nice. We got a big bump up. When was that? It was right after the price support. We got another big major green candle. So I would like to see us get a little bit higher. One problem that we're going to be looking at on a technical sense in this chart. Oh, we need to go to the weekly. And turn off the wave magic. That takes too long. Okay. One problem that we're going to be hitting here in a technical sense on this chart is this very large, what was support and now is basically resistance. Effectively, we broke that line down, and now we're kind of coming back to the top side of that line. On occasion, you can see charts that sort of bounce up along the line like that until they break to the top side. I wouldn't be necessarily convinced that that's going to happen right here. If the rest of the crypto market continues to go to the upside, then probably something like that could happen. Right now, it seems more like shitcoins are popping off a few at a time, like we talked about last week. Sol was a pretty big one apparently. So the news should cover this. We won't really talk about it too much. But Sam, the bank man, fried man, is about to get fried, sent to jail for potentially like 100 years or something like that. Probably it won't be that long. Maybe he'll get like a decade or something slightly less than what Ross Ulbricht did for making a website. This guy for making basically the biggest fraud in American history, stealing more money than anyone has in history, is probably only going to get like 10 or 20 years. But we'll let the news guys cover that. But effectively, yeah, there's kind of like this. Sol has just been mega pumping. Yeah, let's see if we can go to a different chart. Here's the ETH Bitcoin chart. A little bit schizophrenic at the moment, but again, this thing is kind of sitting at support. If you wanted to try and play one coin against the other, I do think that this is probably a good spot to try and enter an ETH BTC position. At a minimum, you kind of expect to probably get 15% better than Bitcoin. If this line breaks down and you confirm a few days below it, that would be really problematic, especially if you kind of touch this area right here, kind of that wick low. Things shouldn't really get that low, but hey, who knows, right? Anything can happen. It's crypto. But let's take a quick look at Sol USD. I'm not saying you should buy it. I didn't have any. I wasn't holding any, but I just want to show you guys this thing is pumped like 127% in the past few months. And then off the bottom, it's pumped like 400%. So, but it's really hard with a coin like this. It's really hard to ask yourself, okay, well, when am I going to get in this thing, right? Are you going to try and get in? Let's just say that you were smart and you didn't try and get it until the very end of the year. Okay, maybe down here you would try and grab that, maybe down here. But so many of these low points to me were dubious, were questionable. Like, okay, is that actually a low? It's hard to get into a coin like this, but it's a strategy as a trader that you can use sometimes to try and give yourself a good chance of getting gains. When something crashes, you've got a big bear market, things have washed out, there's blood in the streets. What you do is you put some small percentage of your stack, like less than 1%, maybe like 1 or 2%, into various shit coins. And if they pump, then you might get something like a 5x. You might have, say, 2% of your stack become 10% of your stack, within a few months. And if you lose it all, you say, well, okay, all right, I'm an idiot. I bought shit coins. It was a risk I knew I was going to be taking. That's one strategy that you can get. And it's one strategy that I used here with recently with the crypto pump that we had, is because I really wasn't too sure about what any of that was. I had some nice gains, from really from the past year, or for the past, 6 to 9 months. And I said, okay, I don't really know what's going to happen. I don't want to risk most of my stack. So what am I going to do? I'm going to buy some shit coins. I'm going to buy the ones that I think have the best chance of pumping. And if the market goes up, then I should have some outsized gains, and that should at least keep me in the gains business, right? So these are kind of like strategies that you can do if you want to be a little bit more active with your trading, if you want to try and protect your stack, which is definitely what I was wanting to do. So I try and play all sides of it. I've got my Monero that I consider my hodl. It's a fundamental play. I basically never sell it. Maybe the only time I sell it is when I need to spend it, right? So yeah, that's kind of where crypto is looking at. Let's take a look at total really quick. Actually, let's take a look at some of the shit coins. All right, you can see we're on the 2-day here. Let's go to the daily. All right, so Link is in white. Again, you can see that Link has been one of the top performers. I don't remember which one. This one is the yellow one down here. Anyways, Dog is kind of like trailing the pack. Litecoin is definitely at the bottom. So Litecoin is in blue, Dog is in yellow. Oh, Bitcoin is in orange. So Bitcoin has been doing, better than pretty much everything else. Monero actually, with the pump that we had this past week, has done pretty good as well. So, and then Bcash is in green. They had some massive pump earlier this year. Good for them. And then we take a look at the Bitcoin dominance as well, really quickly. So this thing, again, still looking nice. There's a question of how long can this continue. I don't have any real opinions on how this chart goes. If we wanted to take a look at historic levels and what this chart has done historically, getting back up to the 63% area, that wouldn't be totally out of the question. That could maybe happen with the Sam Bankman trial being over. Maybe they're going to pivot their guns onto some new aspect of the crypto system. Maybe it could be CZ, maybe it could be Tether and Paolo. I don't know. It seems like they've continued to operate for a very long time and have not been really attacked. So it's kind of hard to think that suddenly they're just going to be attacked. Anyways, we do have like, this is a strong chart, right? Overall, this is a very strong looking chart for the moment, but it has gone up quite a lot. And if hypothetically we think that crypto is going to continue to perform, at some point there's going to be some rotation into alts. Like we said, right now it's a little bit, alts are popping a few at a time, getting outsized gains a few at a time, kind of like Sol did, kind of like Link did. And you could probably expect that to continue here. If we don't see a big broad movement to the upside with everything in the next couple of weeks, I'll probably start really singing out that hey, things are fizzling out here. Don't be getting greedy. Don't be chasing. That's a big deal. Also, don't be chasing. If you're like, hey, I saw this shitcoin pump, I'm going to trade into that shitcoin. No, this is not the time to be chasing. You can chase. The only time that you can chase and it can actually work out for you is the beginning of a bull market. So right here is like, in a very broad macro sense, okay, we are seeing the signs that are starting to convince us that this is potentially the beginning of a bull market. This is not like the beginning of a bull market in earnest, like the post-March 2020 events, right? When everything crashed and everything kind of came back. and then was holding steady. Like that was the beginning of a big bull market in earnest. They turned on the money printers. The macro was extremely clear what was happening. In that case, yeah, you can chase and you can get away with it. Right now, I wouldn't recommend chasing. I don't think it's a great idea. Let's take a look at Monero in terms of the rest of the shitcoin market cap. So what we have is the XMR divided by total 3. Total 3 is basically all the crypto market cap minus Bitcoin minus Ethereum. So that's what we're looking at right here. And you can see that we're basically doing pretty good. We're kind of in this this triangle pattern right here. Ideally, you'd want to see this triangle pattern break to the upside. It's typically this is a neutral triangle, so it could break either way. At the moment, it kind of looks a bit like a bullish triangle because, or a pennant, right? Because you got this big move to the upside where Monero, how much is that? Let's see. Take a look at the percentage that Monero did ahead of everything else. Yeah, so Monero pumped about 150% from the bottom, really at the beginning of 2022, which is kind of crazy, right? Monero, it was at the end of the bull market that Monero was at its lowest relative to the rest of the crypto market. So anyways, it's pumped up. This looks a lot like a pennant. Again, this would be another sign that's like we've talked about, like, okay, at some point I feel like we do need to come revisit the lows. It's hard for me to think that now is the time that the bull market starts in earnest. The macro doesn't say so. We're still kind of looking at some minor problems with the whole debt market. Like there's a lot of craziness happening with currencies across the world, with debt, and it's just difficult to think that nothing bad is going to happen here with rates being held this high across the world for this long. So we're looking here at the yields, all of the different yield spreads. So on the bottom here, we've got the yield curve inversion kind of slightly ticked back down in the past week. You've got the long-term yields coming a little bit to the downside. The short-term yields are still kind of holding steady. This seems to just be holding steady for a very long period of time. We also had the Fed on Wednesday came out and they said that they didn't raise rates at all this Wednesday, which was unsurprising. The market didn't expect them to raise rates. They had all but said that they were not going to raise rates. So that really wasn't much of a factor this week for anything. Normally, I try and listen to the J-Powell speech, but 2 factors: I was out of town, and also it's normally very dry, and you have to read between the lines. He's also a lawyer, so he speaks pretty well, and it just didn't seem like there was going to be anything important that was going to be said this week. So we also had the unemployment numbers came out. This would be the unemployment numbers right here. Now, one thing the Fed has been saying they're trying to do is to get the unemployment level a little bit higher, because with unemployment being so low, it means there's a very high demand for labor. With a high demand for labor, it means that you can demand a higher wage, right? I could go to a semiconductor company, right, and say, hey, here's my resume, whatever. I need a high wage. I don't have to work. I don't, you're going to have to pay me a lot of money for me to go back to work right now. So that's kind of like, in a broad sense, that's kind of what the market has been feeling quite a lot. So because unemployment is so low, because there's so much demand for labor, high wages equals slightly higher inflation. So one of the things that the Fed is trying to do is actually get these unemployment numbers to move to the upside a little bit. I think they want to target like 4.5 or 5%. The only problem with this is that massive pumps in inflation seemingly come out of nowhere, and they're basically always associated, or almost always associated, with recession, and recession is associated with the market pulling back. So right now you can see it looks like things have kind of bottomed out here. The Fed is kind of getting what they want. They've gone from about 3.3% unemployment down to up to like 3.9% unemployment, 3.8, 3.9, yeah, 3.9. So the only thing that would be cause for concern is that the Fed they seemingly act in such a way that they're always overreacting, right? They drop rates, they printed a shitload of money, and they're like, oh, don't worry about it. It's the inflation. No, it's not going to happen. We've got it under control. And then suddenly there's all this inflation. They're like, oh, I guess we have to act now. So now the question is, okay, they're going to hold rates higher for longer. And I think they're going to hold them as high as they can for as long as they can, because they need to buy, and they're going to try and raise them as high as they can, because they need to buy as much room to drop rates. Like, instead of dropping rates from, say, 4% down to 2% or 1.5% and getting back into the same regime that we had after 2008, I do think what they really are trying to do is push rates up to like 6% so that they can drop them down to, say, 4% maybe. Once the economy starts having problems, it gives them this room to renormalize rates, which is something that they really need to do. We've never seen rates be what they were after 2008 for such a long period of time. So anyways, if we start seeing this pump up, that's another signal. Like if we get another month that does that, and then another month does that, that's a big signal that we really need to be careful in this market, and you need to be taking some kind of risk mitigation measures against the long side, especially if you're a hodler. So let's take a look at some of the macro stuff, and then we'll call it a day here. Move the show along. There's a lot of stuff to talk about. So this is the dollar index, currently having a bit of trouble. I do think there's still a reasonable possibility that this thing is not out of steam. A little bit of a broadening structure right here on the way it's acting, maybe just kind of like a bull flag. But dollar index has made a big run to the upside and is now kind of like in this channel. At some point, it could come to the upside and try and reassert itself. Perhaps that would still be a few months off, and perhaps that would coincide with some kind of risk off event, some kind of like big big problem, effectively. Excuse me. So gold here, gold has kind of like had a big run, hit this resistance, still kind of like trying to figure out what it wants to do. We got one day that we poked above there, like we talked about last Saturday, but then it came right back down, hasn't been able to close 2 days above this big resistance line. I still think gold is strong. As we've talked about quite a lot, gold is just for me, it's a good place to park my money. It's got minimal downside risk, significant upside potential, long-term play, fundamental play. It's a place that I just feel like when I think about these attacks, like, okay, people are getting their wallets drained and we don't really know how. We're not really quite sure how all of these attacks are happening. And I think to myself, well, okay, what happens if I lose my crypto, lose a significant portion of my crypto? I say, okay, well, I've still got a huge gold stash. I can recover from that. It'll be painful if I lose all my crypto or or let's suppose a network failure, right? Like network failures can happen. Like things like these networks are not immune to these kinds of problems, including Monero. We could see a network failure in any major coin. So I think to myself, okay, if some major failure happens and I lose a huge portion of my net worth in crypto, okay, well, I still got at least a good chunk of gold. I can recover from that. So another reason why I like gold, it's just, it's a diversification play. It's a safety play.
Gold can't be hacked, is what you're saying? Alchemy is
kind of. I mean, they can come take it from me, I guess. But that's true of everything.
Yeah, it could be lost. When you say a network failure in crypto, what are you referring to?
Let's just say an inflation bug, right? An exploited inflation bug in Bitcoin. Like let's suppose Bitcoin, that 2018 bug or the 2016 bug they fixed in 2018. Let's suppose that guy was nefarious and he had just like exploited that inflation bug. That would crush Bitcoin price and it would crush everything else price as well, because they're all correlated, and the loss of confidence in Bitcoin is loss of confidence across the board. So, but there's all kinds of different failures, right? Like there's DDoS attacks. Who knows?
Yeah, it all goes back to that idea, right? So we're being our own bank, but at a time when it's still early days, right? Where there's always going to be risk because of the nature of what we're doing here, but there's more risk now in these earlier days, I would say, right?
Yeah, I'm not convinced at this point. Like it's been 14 years for Monero. It's been almost a decade. I'm not entirely convinced of when this becomes as seamless as starting a bank account. There's the pain in the ass of doing all your KYC to get your bank account and begging them to hold your money for you. So there's that kind of like, there's its own kind of like problems, but I'm not convinced of when it becomes about as seamless as having a bank account.
No, really? Yeah. I think it's already easier. It's already technically a lot easier for me, from my perspective. And it is
easier,
but the hard part is the stress that comes along with the risk of using these systems, right? But the systems themselves, they do work. They're very easy. I mean, you download an app on your phone and you're up and running, right? Like you said, there's no KYC. You could be completely anonymous, and boom, you're running. You got a bank account. You got a quote unquote bank account. And you can start sending money back and forth to each other, and all you have to do is write down a seed, as long as all those things work. And like you said, there's no critical flaw, network failure. There's no, but once it does work, if you're trusting that it works as intended, it is very easy, I think.
Yeah, I suppose so. It's not really that hard. Maybe you're right. It's mostly just the stress of holding your own stuff.
Yeah.
and those particular pain points of backing up your seed.
Yeah.
I read an article that the cops are like, they're all trained now to look for seed phrases. They know what they look like now. So they're
Oh,
like,
yeah, that's scary. Yeah, I don't doubt
yeah.
that.
Yeah, so put your seed somewhere that it's difficult to find, It's basically that won't be found unless you already know where it is, kind of thing.
It's
Let's see.
wild.
Okay, last thing we'll talk about is stocks here. This is the Nasdaq, and after a very big drop off that we talked about last week, this down here came back. Now back inside of this channel. At the moment, this is starting to look like a downward, or sorry, like a bull flag, right? So you got this downward channel after a big move, and there was a little bit of danger here when this breakdown happened, and we said, hey, maybe this head and shoulders target could still be playing out, which would be somewhere around here. The Nasdaq head and shoulders did not completely play out. The S&P one basically did meet its target. Like it fully hit the target that you would expect it to hit from that breakdown. So stocks really came back in a big way, and maybe that's a part of the reason why crypto sort of treaded water here and didn't do a whole lot. Maybe a lot of that money went back into stocks. So stocks are always optimistic, and maybe the Fed, maybe it's different this time. There's still like these big macro problems on the horizon, and the timelines still probably look more like next year than they look like immediately. So, but it's just hard for me to really like get long this market with everything I have. I still look at this thing and I say I'm not confident that this is a strong market. You can see here we've got the in green, that's the US, like total US liquidity. Again, that's like reverse repos in combination with the Fed balance sheet. Really just kind of trending sideways and down here. Global liquidity continues to drop off. Really, when it comes to the stock market, my thinking is that you only need one of these going up for stock markets to be price positive. So, just, be careful out there. Again, don't be chasing. If you've been long, if you're hodling, you can maybe continue to hodl. I don't see why you wouldn't. We might still have to wait some time period to get some big gains, but there is still the distinct possibility that Bitcoin could make it to 40,000 or 44,000. Like that could legitimately happen. Like if this line, so for example, last thing we'll say here is that if this line right here breaks to the upside and holds on the upside here for like a few days, not just like breaks it and comes back down and BART chart and all this bullshit, but like actually breaks above and holds at least for a few days, ideally closes a week above, you could probably expect that things are going to pump here to the like 45,000 area. That would be okay. If things pump there, that's where you need, if you at all reallocate funds, that's where you need to take something off the table. Those are major standard deviation levels. Those are psychological levels that the market in aggregate has that doesn't know that they have. This level right here, these top blue bands, that would be an exit point if you're trying to trade on a long-term basis. That's a perfect point, and also that's probably a great point for one of the ETFs to be approved. And and we've all seen what happens when a major institution starts accepting Bitcoin. You think, oh, price is going to go up, but then they use it as exit liquidity and opportunity for all of the people coming into the market. They use that as an opportunity to dump on people because of that exit liquidity is present. So anyways, that's kind of how I'm thinking about the situation here. I don't have high confidence necessarily in one direction or the other. So for me, in the way that I usually manage my funds, I only do crazy shit with a very small percentage, and I like to have high confidence that I think I know where the market is going to actually be in the market. If I'm not too sure, I usually just sit out, and I'm comfortable with that. It means that sometimes I might sit out on big pumps like this, and that's fine. That's my personal style. A lot of people have different styles of trading as well. So I feel like, hey, I got enough here early on in the year. I want to see some more clarity in the market before I really make a big movement with a big allocation of funds again, apart from my hodl. So that's the price report today.
Awesome, man. Yeah. Good take. So you're saying, despite the fact that we've seen a recent pump, you don't feel super comfortable if you were looking to make big trades to move out of Bitcoin right now with the hope that there'd be a pullback. You think it's kind of like too much of a 50-50 situation where it could still pump up from here, right?
Yeah. If I was going to try and take any trade at all, it would actually probably be a leverage trade with a very tight stop. So for example, like let's suppose I wanted to bet on the short side because that's the pattern. That's been the pattern for all year long. You pump and then you kind of fizzle out. Like you kind of make these little BART charts, pretend like you're going to pump, and then you come back down. Right now, what I would maybe do, like if I was going to try and take a trade at all, I would probably take a leverage trade to the downside, and then I would put a stop loss at like maybe 36,000 right there, or maybe like just slightly higher, like 36.4. And I'd say, okay, you know, if I lose that trade, sure, that's what would that be? Maybe I'd lose 5% on that, but then the downside target at least would be to this area, right? So you'd be looking for 17% down, because if this thing fails to the downside or fizzles out, it's probably going to hit this line down here. So anyways, again, you know, that's just like my personal way that I'm managing my funds. Definitely, I have to acknowledge that this big pump right here was kind of a miss because I didn't like any of this action. My bias was to the downside, so that was definitely one that I missed. So, but you know, you're never going to get them all right. So anyways, yeah, good luck out there, guys.
All right, man. Good luck in every way, right? Trading, holding your crypto, moving it around, not losing your keys. Bawdy, please stick around if you can, because I know there's going to be a lot more discussion around the CCS stuff. Would love to continue to get your insights on all that jazz.
Yeah, I'll be here.
All right.
Thank you, Bawdy. Appreciate it. Alrighty, let's move on to our guest segment because Danny's backstage. We don't want to keep him waiting too long.
Yeah, we could do that. And then we have the dev report. Or maybe we could do a quick dev report, because then I want to do Danny, and then he could stay up and chat with us. But yeah, all right, bring Danny up, because I don't know how good his internet's going to be.
Yeah, and he's been waiting for a little bit. Let's just bring him on.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Okay.
The Monerotopia guest segment is sponsored by Cake Wallet. Store, send, receive, and exchange your Monero and Bitcoin safely on iOS and Android too. Cake Wallet is open source, and you always control your own keys.
Danny, what's going on, man?
Hey, how are you?
Hello.
Oh, it's pretty good. I'm enjoying the humidity.
Are you in Acapulco?
Yeah. I'm sitting up on a rooftop to get a signal. I thought I was going to have Starlink earlier, but the power went back off where we had Starlink, so I lost access to that. But I'm actually sitting on top of a roof, and I've got 5G at the moment.
All right, we'll take advantage of that.
Yeah.
I was watching some of your videos. What's your channel? You plug your channel so people know.
Oh, ANRV Adventure. I think the
oh, shit. Yeah, no.
Short title on that is AN videos, and yeah. I'm doing a lot of motorcycle riding videos that's, you know, going through disaster areas or whatever, and just traveling around Mexico, stuff like that. So it's ANRV Moto. And I think we get shadow.
No, Danny's breaking up, right?
A little, you know, the algorithm. I don't know. Am I any better there?
I think, yeah, a little better.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was sitting up against a wall there. Yeah, I should get a better signal here. Anyway, yeah, it's kind of a travel channel. I mean, I have the crypto show where I just add videos from different conferences and stuff, and it's pretty sporadic now the way I do that one. It was a AM/FM radio show that ran for almost 7 years, and then I just kind of quit doing the radio, and we just add videos here and there on that one. So right now I'm just doing mostly the travel stuff, and it's you know, associated with Acapulco and different things, traveling around Mexico, and I say a few things that are probably not friendly to the YouTube algorithms, so we don't really get much play. I mean, when I'm looking at other travel, if I'm looking at other travel videos, it's like some dude sitting in his, you know, living room in Mexico saying, "Oh, yeah, I've got a cheap apartment and I only pay X number." Like, they don't even do any traveling, and I'm doing some pretty wild traveling, and we don't get any, you know, we don't get any airplay at all. So
Yeah, no, I think there's something going on there. But we think that with Monero Talk as well, right? We've been putting on content for years. It's like really good crypto content. None of this like bullshit talking about pump and dumps. It feels like we should have more subscribers at this point than we do.
Right.
Right? We're always I mean, everybody knows us, right?
I don't even care. I mean, I don't even care anymore. I watch it. Like, you guys are one of the only podcasts I actually watch. So, I mean, I don't catch it every week, but when I get a chance to sit down and listen, I always do. So
awesome.
So what? And we should take pride in the Monero donations that came in for this fundraiser. That far exceeded Bitcoin and everything else. I think it exceeded all other cryptos together. I looked at it this morning. There was a snapshot and said that we had collected 61,000 in Monero.
That's crazy.
And that was pretty. So that was really crucial to getting this off the ground. And if you don't know what we're talking about, we responded to the Hurricane Otis here in Acapulco, and Jeff put up a GoFundMe deal. Plus, he also had crypto addresses. Well, we just barely got the GoFundMe funds a couple of days ago. So in the interim, we were only able to get the stuff that we had through crypto. So that's all of the main expenses were all done in crypto. So without that, we wouldn't have had anything. And I had a similar situation during Hurricane Harvey in Houston back in 2017. I was sponsored by Dash at the time, and I had some funds left over from another project that we did. And I just decided, hey, I'm going to take these funds that was supposed to feed the homeless, and I'm going to go down and feed homeless people on the coast at the hurricane. Well, we put this out, on the air, which was actually just Facebook Live, because the hurricane had ripped our antenna down. And somebody responded that was watching and said, I will match up to 10 Bitcoins any donation. And, our show was 2 hours long. So when the show was over, I went out and I jumped in my truck and I started driving from Austin down towards Corpus Christi so I could catch the backside of the hurricane and work my way into Houston. And on the way to San Antonio, I opened the wallet up and there's 10 Bitcoin in the wallet. I'm like, whoa, shit, And Bitcoin was $4,300 at the time. So here I am, not even an hour out of announcing that I'm going to go do this, and I have access to $43,000. And at the time, this was when Coinbase had the Shift card, and you could just put Bitcoin in your Coinbase account and immediately spend it. So, within an hour, I received this Bitcoin. I'm in Walmart in San Antonio loading up on all kinds of stuff to take into, the hurricane. And, like I said, hurricane was still happening. I just drove into the backside of it and just followed the hurricane through the Texas coast. And geez, we helped, over 3,000 people with different, care packages and stuff, helped them, cut limbs. We bought a small aluminum boat, and we had a crew from Defense Distributed. And the founder of the crypto show, Harlan, and a bunch of the guys who worked at Defense Distributed, which is, Cody Wilson's deal, the Ghost Gunner. They all got together, took the boat down there, and they pulled out over 30 people with our boat. And that was all sponsored by Dash. A lot of people don't like Dash, but I happen to think it was a pretty good project. It has one of the most important things about a crypto project, and that's community.
Except now it's a self-proclaimed non-privacy coin, right?
Yeah. They're they were never a privacy coin to begin with. They just had a feature. They took CoinJoin.
Dark Coin, weren't they originally?
Originally it was called Dark Coin, and it had CoinJoin from Bitcoin's CoinJoin, and they took some features from the Dark Wallet from Amir Tahi.
Right.
And they put that together, and that was their private send function. But still, you had to jump through hoops to make it happen. It wasn't by default.
Yeah, and then you had all the master nodes and all that jazz. But it's interesting to see. It is amazing to see. Is there the website? Where can we go? Where's the website where it shows the donations?
Hurricane Otis Recovery.com.
See if you could bring that up so we could show everybody. But yeah, it's amazing that $61,000 was raised in Monero, and it dwarfed
of 400. I mean, we're at 400,000, I think.
Yeah,
somewhere in there of the total, and we've already. I know we've spent less than 200. I'm sure. So I know it's somewhere over 100,000. I've done. I don't know how much I've done because we have a large Sprinter van, and we're running back and forth from Cuernavaca, which is 5 hours away, to get large loads. Sprinter van size loads. It's a big cargo van, so we're able to put 3 pallets of stuff in the van and bring it down. So, doing that every day, it got tiring. So we asked that they use a bigger truck to bring it down whenever we need it. We're stocked up pretty good right now, and the crisis phase of the hurricane is pretty much over. Like, people are getting access to food and water now, so it's not so important that we provide those things. So we're going to start shifting our focus into finding people that need home repairs and stuff like that, and see how we can help out with that.
Okay.
I'm very familiar with how Mexico provides funds to disasters, so I know what to look for. Another thing that I did when I was sponsored by Dash was right after Hurricane Harvey, we had the earthquake in Mexico, and I put in another proposal to Dash to go down and help out people with the earthquake. And we initially decided, we were going to just go down there and hand out food and stuff. And then I recognized something different, that, people needed help with rebuilding their houses. And I went to a small village outside of Puebla, and we ended up building 4 homes with Dash. The Mexican exchange called Bitso, they actually exchanged the Dash for me, even though they did not accept Dash. On the back end, they were exchanging the Dash for me and sending cash directly to a credit card so that we could buy materials and pay the crew and all that stuff. So there was a lot of people that helped out with that, including Roger Ver, who helped to fund rebuilding the community center. So, but in doing that, what I had learned is when these disasters happen, the Mexican government actually does provide money to the people to rebuild their house. But the problem that comes in is when a house is not considered a house. Like, does it have a foundation? Does it have this, working bathroom? Does it have this or that? There's certain criteria that makes it a full house. So when people have built their own house and they don't have the things that make it considered a house, the government doesn't give them any aid at all. So like our taxi driver for Acapulco, the guy who organizes all of our transportation, his name is Macario. I think he got a divorce or something. He moved out of his house, and so he built his own little house, and that house is just trashed. So he doesn't qualify for any assistance. So we can help him, and that's where we're putting our focus. We've got another week or so of finding areas that are outlying from the Acapulco area that were damaged, where we can help them with food, and then it's going to be a full shift focus into finding these homes where we need repairs. So
okay,
I'm glad to be part of this. And people say a lot of stuff about Jeff, and I've known him for a long time, and I've never had any issues whatsoever. People have reached out to me and oh, we don't trust him, so they've sent me the crypto instead. And I have 3 different donations that I receive. Actually, one of them is in Monero from somebody that's on this show sometimes. I don't know if he wants me to say it out loud, so I'm not going to say anything. he sent Monero to me, and we'll be using that towards Macario's home. That's so my bread and butter in the States is I'm a contractor. I actually am a roofing contractor, so I do insurance claims, and I've got over 30 years experience in construction.
Okay.
So that's how I ended up building homes and stuff in Mexico, and this is right up my alley. I can easily shift into construction mode.
Yeah. I mean, it's it's great to just see crypto being used in the sense. It's like you said, it was used back in the day. Like Dash was used, but this is it's showing how useful crypto can be, right? Or just like you said, instantly sending donations. They don't have to wait for getting approval from whatever third party is receiving it, creating accounts. It's just boom, crypto's getting sent. It's working better than the traditional banking system.
The reason why I even got in,
scroll down a little bit so we could see all the donation amounts.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. All right.
Yeah.
Why do you think so many Monero? Cindy, wait, scroll back up so we could see. So you could just see
probably because of Jeff's listeners are, he's been recommending Monero as a top privacy coin for a long time. I know he advocated for Pirate Chain for a while. I think he still does. I mean, but Monero is always his go-to of being the solid one. I mean, I work with a crypto project myself, and I would still recommend Monero. I don't pretend that, our little shit coin is competition with Monero, but we are inspired by some of the different features of Monero. So, it's a Zcash fork, but we've, used the idea of ring signatures. We have 8 outputs rather than 1 output like Zcash. So it's kind of like having ring signatures on top of Zcash, But I'm not here to pump my shit coin. So
it's just amazing to see that Monero like really dwarfed all these others in terms of people using it to make donations. That's for me, that's very positive. When people think, all right, time to actually use crypto, this is what I'm gonna use.
Yeah. Oh, and the main guy helping me is Jason Henza. We're using his van to do all this, and he owns a pizza shop that accepts Monero and DragonX in Morelia. So you can actually get a 50% discount on your pizza in his shop if you spend Monero. So I think you should be able to find it on Google Maps in Morelia. It's called Pizza Henza. It's his last name. So that's pretty cool.
So how do you guys now, like you said, you're moving on from food and water to now helping people who've essentially lost their homes, maybe finding a few people, however you're going to pick and choose who you're going to work with. But how do you plan on actually using the crypto for these purposes? You're gonna liquidate it, or you're gonna what means are you going to use to turn the crypto, the Monero, into the thing?
Well, the majority. So I would say that the majority of the crypto we've already had to use because we didn't have access to the GoFundMe funds. So the 100 and something K that we've already gone through to get this far was, majority of that was crypto. So at this point on, we're spending GoFundMe funds to get the construction done.
Okay. So you're not going to be using really crypto for those things. You already used it.
No. I mean, I don't know exactly how much is left. I've been just so focused on doing what we're doing. I didn't even know how much money was in it. I mean, when I came down here, the storm happened. The very next morning, I just decided I'm going to load up my motorcycle and drive to Acapulco. I had no intention of being part of this. I was busy helping to organize. I organized the crypto stage for Acapulco, and I just told everybody in the chats, "Hey, I'm going to go down to Acapulco and help." I had no idea that Jeff was doing the fundraiser until after I was almost here. So I just plan on coming down and, like, you know, using a shovel to help people dig stuff out, maybe cut some limbs, do what I could, you know, maybe inspire a few people to do something. And then all of this money showed up. And so I'm like, well, okay, I can do the exact same thing I did with Dash. So we just went hardcore on getting stuff to people so that they could use it.
Cool. What do you think, man? Is Anarchapulco going to happen in February, given what happened?
Yeah. You know, the first day I showed up, some of the hotels and stuff that house us, I went by there, and it was their windows were blown out, the roofs were damaged, things like that. But everything's built out of concrete, so the structures are still there. They just need to build, you know, put the other stuff back. The garden is really tore up, but the area where our main stage is in perfect condition. We don't have to worry about that. So hopefully they can get at least a portion of that garden put back together. And you know, because the other things that happen at the garden are pretty cool. You know, they have temazcals and all these other, you know, little events that are going on inside the garden area, away from the main stage. But at this point, they kind of have a clean slate, and they could actually redesign that garden to make it accommodate a lot more people. So we'll see where that goes. Right now, I'm trying to get the volunteers that are here in the area to take a day and just all go over there and help clean up, you know, just move the dead debris away, and so they can see what's underneath this mess and see what they have to work with.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Yeah, I know you had asked if Sunita and I are coming down. We don't know yet. We got to play this one by ear, just because we got a lot of different things going on. We're going down to Argentina next week, and then we got a couple other little trips.
Oh, that's cool.
But we'd love to. I love being down there at Anarchapulco, surrounded by all the crypto anarchists.
Yeah, you know, I like, you know, I went to Monerotopia in Mexico City, and it was super impressive, especially the way you guys ran that market, and that's inspired us. So hopefully we can do something like that. I'm wanting to bring down at least 4 of the Tumen people from different regions, and then have them set up booths so they can accept Tumen. And
for those who are confused by that, it has no association to me. This is if you want to quickly explain what that is.
Tumin. It is a Mexican local currency that started just after Bitcoin, so it's 13 years old, and it's a paper currency. And the Mexican government the Mexican bank was intimidated by this currency that was 1-to-1 with the peso, so they sued them. And, you know, this was just a little paper currency that was floating around in one small town that started in a university. When it escaped the university and got out into the town of Espinal in Veracruz, the bank became interested and sued them. Well, they used Article 2 of the Mexican Constitution, which allowed for indigenous economies and rule, and they won the lawsuit. So when they won, you know, the people were free to spend their money now. This became a big news story. So it ended up on TV and radio, and then areas all around Mexico started becoming interested in it. So now there's 6 regions in Mexico that have their own Tumen, and you know, each one has its own little picture on it and all that. But there's over 3,000 users. I've been to their meetups and stuff. Not a meetup. They have like little festivals where all of the Tumenistas will gather from all over this, you know, all over Mexico, and come and have a big market day. And the last one I went to in Veracruz, there were over 150 vendors. There were about 600 people there, and I watched thousands and thousands of transactions with paper Tumen. We created a Zcash chain, you know, Zcash fork from Hush for them. So there is a digital Tumen as well. But the way Tumen works is, in order to be part of the economy, you have to accept at least 10% in Tumen and the other part in pesos. So to me, this is a good way to onboard them onto Monero. If we have a digital Tumen, now we can all start talking to them about crypto. And so instead of taking pesos as that other 90%, why not take crypto? It opens up the conversation. Of course, it's not going to be everybody that's interested into it. But if we can combine a Monero marketplace like you had with a Tumen marketplace, it opens people's eyes up into what those possibilities are.
All run by Tumen.
Yeah, right.
Tumen marketplace.
Well, it's Tumin. Tumin is the Nahuatl, which is the native word for money.
It's interesting. Like you said, I mean, the positive there, it gets people accustomed to letting the best monies compete and not necessarily using the state issued currency and being open-minded about money. But I mean, there are concerns, right? Like, how is this Tumen thing actually function? How do we know that there's not Tumens being printed at will? I mean, it's well, I don't even know if you want to get into that, but I mean, that would my initial reaction would be like,
the paper, the paper, they print it, right? They print it up and they give it away. I mean, why counterfeit when all you have to do is ask for it? I mean, right now it functions as a reward point. It's like, what are you're going to counterfeit to get a 10% discount? It
has a value to it, right? And then who controls?
Yeah, but I mean, like when I ask them, hey, well, what do you do if somebody's counterfeiting? He goes, oh, that would save us some trouble of having to print it. Like, okay.
Sounds like we need to get them on Monero before they get.
The counterfeiter would just have to become part of the economy then to get the value out of what he just printed. It's their motto is solidarity in money, solidarity de moneda. Okay. So
moneda. There you go.
Moneda, yeah. Maybe that's where Monero gets its name, right?
Yep. Esperanto, definitely related. Dan, thank you so much, man, for jumping on, giving us the update. It's super cool what you're doing down there. I just love your lifestyle, man. You just on the bike, driving around, literally driving into the storm. You're living the
dream. The first step is get rid of all debt and take on no new debt.
All right.
That's one key. Then it's easy to be able to do things like that. But
that is the key. You gotta get to zero, right? You gotta
debt slavery is not good.
Yes. Well, cheers to you, man, because it seems like you figured something out. You've reached escape velocity. Dan, you're always welcome to join the show. Give us updates on what's going on with the Acapulco and anything else you're working on. Appreciate it. We'll keep an eye on these. I guess the donations are probably. I don't know if people are going to keep donating, or I guess maybe you'll give more information about what it's actually going to be used for now beyond water and food. They keep. I mean,
they have a Telegram channel that a lot of people are in. That's a public channeling, and they're posting all of the receipts and everything from everything that's bought. So it's all very transparent as to where the money's going. Jeff's not controlling any of it. He's got several people accounting, like because I'm actually spending the money out of my bank account to go and do this stuff. And then they just wire me the money that I spent and reimburse me. So. Okay.
As long as they're not sending you Tumen coins.
Yeah, right. I would take them. I accept Tumen. That's part of getting Tumen is you have to agree to provide a service or good to the economy. That's the only requirement to entry for Tumen is that you have to agree to be a Tumenista and accept and interact with the economy.
That's good. Yeah, it's they're trying to build their own circular economy.
Yeah, I mean, we can argue about hey, counterfeit this or that, or whatever. I mean, they've been doing it for 13 years, and it's still working. So,
right.
It's not my place to tell them how to run their economy. We just gave them the tool to try to digitize it.
Right, and like you said, maybe they eventually move on to something else. That's something more secure or whatever.
Right.
Danny, thank you so much, man. We're gonna keep moving along. Obviously, you're welcome to stay if you can.
Awesome.
Otherwise, we'll.
Oh, I've got stuff to do. I got to go. I'm gonna go pick up some kids from the Marsh home and take them up to Jeff's house to help us make packages to pass out. So,
all right, cool.
Yeah, awesome. I thought it was important. We've been able to do that. I went and got them one day, and they helped us make a bunch of packages. And then I took them with us in the van, and we let them pass the stuff out to people so that they would, because their life situation is people are always bringing stuff and giving it to them, and they're of the mindset that people just give me stuff. I wanted them to be able to be the ones to give to other people, to give them a different perspective on giving and not just be the person that receives all the time.
I like that. Yeah.
Cool.
All right, man.
All right, man.
Thanks.
Always great.
Nice talking with you.
All right. Cheers. We'll be in touch about an Acapulco. Maybe we can make it down there.
All right, man.
All right. Cheers.
Bye.
Awesome. Cool.
All right. Shall we move on to the dev segment? I think Comrade's there.
Yes, we'll move on to the dev segment.
Yeah,
and talk about the news and all the CCS stuff.
And now for the Monero development segment.
Hey, how have you been?
Hey, how's it going, Conrad?
Nothing much. Well, the fall break is over, sadly. So I will have so much more things to do.
You had a break from school?
Yeah. This week it was a fall break.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'm sure you got to enjoy it, right? You got to.
Yeah. Well, basically, currently in Hungary, the winter and the fall breaks are a bit longer than usual because the government doesn't want to pay the schools for the heating.
Oh, wow. Okay, so
Hungary is about 45,000. Let me convert it because in EU and in Hungary the billions and the millions are messed up. 1 second. 1,000. I think this much. So 1 second. About this much. Wait 1 second.
That's that much of what?
No, so 45,000 billion HUF in debt. The government, like the whole state, Hungary.
Oh, the GDP.
Yeah. Well, not the GDP, the whole country, and they are not forcing, but recommending parents to buy the Hungarian government stock to replenish that money, which is stolen from the governmental safe bank. I don't know what to call it because our government is not a bit, but far more corrupt than it's seen from other parts of the world.
So just another corrupt government. All right.
Yes.
Well, let's focus on the things that we do have some understanding, which is Monero.
So I've got some words on the CCS too. So as Alaska.
Yeah. We'll talk about that later.
Sure.
Present this week's dev report. I know we're going to talk about the CCS Wallet. I guess because somebody had posted an update on that. If you could just give us an update on the CCS Wallet, maybe if you want to first talk about what CCS is, and then you could mention what the CCS Wallet project is.
Sure. So CCS and Gentis will be the next hard fork of Monero, which was expected to be around next year, maybe Q2 or 3, but that won't happen as the developers said. maybe a year later. I think it will be around 20 25 Q1 or 2 maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so basically the improvements are privacy focused. So as you see, the ring sizes will be expanded to 128 decoys instead of 16. So that's a really big jump in decoys. Simplified addresses, well, not so simplified, because currently we have 95 character addresses, and that will be around 200 characters, but the main address, sub addresses, and integrated addresses will be replaced with one address, and that will have an RID, a recipient address, which you can identify the address by, so you don't have to read the whole address in 200 characters to compare it to the one that you are trying to send. So maybe crypto clippers, you have to verify that the address you're sending to is the one that you want to send to. It will be much more modular than the current version of Monero, so they won't have to do so much hard forks from now on, but they will be able to implement the changes easier. There will be support for view-only wallets, so people will be only able to see outgoing transactions and not incoming ones, because currently we only have incoming view-only support.
Right, they'll be able to see both now.
Yes. The third-party transaction scanning services that can see the transaction amounts, I kind of don't get what that would be, but
that's like My Monero right now has the My Monero server, which uses the view key. So now they'll be able to use this new essentially view key that's going to be created with Seraphis, but to do it in a more privacy preserved.
Yeah, I'll be fascinated to see that, and of course the simplified generation of new addresses, which of course will be used by shop software like the bazaar that you want to create.
Yes. Cool. And then all right, so what's this?
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, so what is the Seraphis wallet that we've been hearing about? And then I think this week there was a post giving an update on it.
We can skip forward to that and we will get back. So basically the Seraphis wallet would be a code in the core Monero implementation, which would help wallets like Monerujo, Cake, and other wallets like Monero GUI implement Seraphis and the Seraphis address mechanics in all way. Currently, as they say, it will be 1 year old, but they haven't had much done about it currently. Mm-hmm. But they will fasten up their projects in the second year, so 2024. So as I said, maybe it will be done in 2025, Q1, Q2, maybe Q3, but that's not fixed yet. So basically, the designer UKO HB and the inventor Seraphis set about, as you see, 2 years to implement Seraphis and Jamtis, but that won't happen, as said previously. And he haven't had the competence to do it, as you can see here. So they invited more developers to help in the project, but much of them quit because they haven't had the competence either to do it. But Jay Berman, Dangerous Freedom, and the other ones are currently trying to fasten up the process. So Jay Berman created a scanner which reads through the blockchain from a specific height, and it almost sorts or finds all the outputs that belong to given Monero address set here. Basically a software that scans the blockchain and sorts out all the outputs from a given address.
Okay. So basically, it's this new part of the protocol that they're developing. So those developers that are creating actual wallets, that applications will be able to use this new wallet portion of the Monero protocol.
Yeah. So basically, it's not a wallet app which Surface is creating, but rather a code in the Monero core, which will be able to be implemented in the other wallets like Monero, Cake, Monero, and the others. So they will be able to support Surface and Jamtis updates.
Awesome. Exciting to see. Yeah, I guess they didn't make as much progress as they were hoping to make, but it looks like they're still steadfast, and they made it, from my reading of it, they made it sound like they're ready to now make some significant progress moving forward.
Yeah, so as written here almost, there is no, I can't seem to find it, but there is no prototype yet. So we are far from ready to have Surface implemented, but I think they are trying really hard and fast to be able to release it. But in its current form, Monero is not vulnerable so much that it would require Surface. So it's just an addition what we will have in the future. So no reason to worry.
All right. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. And I'm sure we'll have, some of these characters on the show again soon. Jay Berman I'm sure we'll get him on soon. He could give us updates on what's going on. Would love to get Ko on again soon. Hear what's going on.
And also we need to get Tawadar too.
Yes. We tried. I don't think he's really looking to be public.
I'm not sure. Yeah.
We had him on years ago. He via voice only, and when RandomX was first being implemented. We reached out to him recently. I don't think he wants to jump on, but he does tremendous work in the Monero community.
Yeah, I agree.
Now he's a big part of the Surface implementation. So all exciting things, and I know Jay Berman actually gave a presentation yesterday, or I guess it was Thursday, in Chicago at the Monero Meetup. I think we'll mention that later in the show, but I assume this is some of what he talked about. So I don't know if that was recorded. I hope it was, and then we could all tune into that and see what he had to say. But like I said, I'll try to get him on a full Monero talk too, to get an update.
Nice. I think we can get back to the frequently asked questions about Surface. So as the first one said on their website, will the XMR address change in use of people? Yes, it will be because the 95 character addresses will be changed by about 200 character one. Will result in a new and old Monero, such as in Bitcoin or Bitcoin Cash. It's not likely, because then we would have two Moneros and it would be a mess. Will the altcoins be spendable too? So I think they are referring to the coins before Surface, like currently. Yes, it will be usable, and they don't want anyone to lose their cash. Probably. The current seed phrase will still work because they don't change the mechanics of Monero from that side. So the seed phrase will be still the same, but it won't refer to the current 95 character public address. The mechanics of Monero mining won't be changed, so miners don't need to change anything other than their address in the mining software. And if someone would mistakenly somehow send X much on old address, that couldn't happen because the wallets that will have Surface implemented will be limited to only Surface addresses. So they won't be able to send Monero to other 95 character old addresses. How will someone be able to check the address that they sent to if it will be 200 characters long? As I previously mentioned, there will be an RID identifier, which will be a 25 character alphanumerical text that will look like something like this. I think it's even better than a current Monero address because you can see it through because of the dashes.
Mm-hmm.
The new Surface wallet will be able to read Monero wallet files. So the current Monero wallet files will be able to read in by the Surface wallet, probably. I think they have no reason to make it not get the file of the current Monero wallets. And will someone be able to send more funds to an existing paper wallet? So as mentioned, paper and any other wallet seed phrases won't change, but the 95 characters long addresses will. So in order for someone to send their funds to a paper wallet, they would have to recover their paper wallet using their seed to get the new 200 character address. So that would differ. Basically, you have to create another paper wallet to send your funds to, and then you can use it like that way.
All right, good stuff, man. Yeah, basically, those that have old Monero seeds laying around, like what we said earlier, you might want to move your Monero anyway, but you don't have to worry about it. It's not like the seeds are being deprecated. It's just the actual addresses. So, for example, we have a Monero donation address posted on our show. Once Seraphis is implemented, that address is no longer going to work. You'll no longer be able to send Monero to that address. We're going to have to update that with the new Jamtis Seraphis address. We put addresses on our gratuitous coffee bags for people to donate. Those addresses are no longer going to work. But the Monero that's going to these addresses, it's still there. It's not going to disappear. As long as you have your seed, you're good to go. Nothing's changing with your seed phrase, and you'll be able to generate new addresses from those seed phrases.
And likely there will be a phase where both current and Jamtis addresses will be usable, as the user is the best beta tester. I'd recommend the most people to use their current addresses when that phase happens, because any bugs could result to loss of funds.
All right, let's move on. I see everybody's waiting to talk about the big topic, so we're going to move ahead. All right, man?
Yeah, sure.
Thanks
again. Just the basic projects to look for, and of course the Surface and Jamtis wallet. We are still waiting on Luke to come on the show. He still doesn't have time because of work. But I'll try to get him some work through a person that I know, and of course the stats of the Monero at the moment is writing. Finally, the hash rate stopped dropping, and it stayed the same.
Wait, you stopped showing the thing, Comrade. We're gonna move along, man. Sunita,
sure.
Let's move along to the next segment. I see people getting impatient. They want to talk about the CCS. And we'll continue to talk about Seraphis. We'll talk about it, I'm sure, a lot more as we get closer to the implementation, and we'll get the actual devs on to give presentations, or we'll be doing full Monero talks with them. Comrade Matt, appreciate it. Thank you. Stick around if you can to talk about the CCS hack and all that stuff. All right.
I'll be here. So.
All right. Cool.
All right. Cool. Thanks. All right, we'll move on to the news. And now for our weekly news segment.
Okay, you got links. Let's combine this with the viewers on stage. You want to bring everybody up? Sunita,
Okay.
anybody that wants to come up, now's the time. We'll talk about CCS stuff, maybe some other news items we'll go through first.
Okay. It's the Viewers on Stage segment. It's that time where we invite you, the viewers, up on stage to comment on anything you've heard so far today, ask the guest a question, or maybe talk about one of the news topics. Come on down.
Righty, all right. Guys, jump on up. Now's the time if you want to talk about the Monero CCS hack. All right. I see people jumping on. Nice. What's going on, guys? Sunita, is there any non-Monero CCS news that we want to mention first? If you're seeing those links, I don't know what we got up there.
I'm trying to my computer. This was.
You could bring up.
Oh, the meetup. We can do that maybe.
Yeah, go ahead, share that.
Oh wait, not that one. Where is this? Meetup. Here it is. Is that the meetup? Oh no, it's sharing. Share this tab. The Chicago Monero Meetup. That just happened this past Thursday. Looks like they all had a great time. Pretty successful.
Yeah, that was a big success. I think Vic said there were like 50 people there. Super cool. Unfortunately, we weren't able to go. Womp womp.
Make it. I know. It looks great. Looks like we had a nice turnout.
That's Girl Gone Crypto, right? On the left?
Yeah, she went. It's awesome.
That's cool. It's nice to see Justin over there. Some other familiar faces. And yeah, I don't know what they gave what the presentations were on. I know Justin presented, and would love to see that. So hopefully
Berman.
They'll post those soon.
That's their wallet thinking. Yeah. Those are the pictures that they shared. I'm assuming they have more.
Yeah, I think Justin presented on what we were just talking about. Actually, I believe Seraphis related stuff, and I think maybe full membership proofs, which is super cool. All right, let's get into the Monero CCS though. I know we have other news, but let's just talk about stop wasting everybody's time here because I think everybody's waiting to talk about that. Guys,
you want to show first?
Who do we got on stage here?
Hello, ladies and gentlemen.
Hello.
Hey, Nan, how's it going, man?
You know, life is good over here because I don't have my crypto on a Windows machine, but
yes, Sunita, you can leave this open.
This one, right?
Yeah, wallet incident.
Okay.
So I'll ask Gaina, what's your take, given everything that's happened? What are you thinking about this whole situation?
We'll see how good David is at not interrupting, but my take is, for one, just because we have some incredible modern iterations on ways to be your own banker and stuff, there's a lot of reasons why we shouldn't throw the baby out with the bathwater. I proposed about 3 years ago that all open source software technologies, Monero included, it's not even so much that there's not enough funding, it's that certain projects steal the spotlight, and other projects that could be funded with a couple $100 in a day, they have nowhere to go to request like $200 or something like that. And these are things that hundreds and hundreds of other dependencies could benefit from. So I floated a while ago, you should have 2 or 3 or maybe even 4 open source software foundations. And those actually the Magic Monero fund that Luke and those other guys are doing are like right on par with what it is that I'm describing. But basically, you have trusted elements within the community that are operating under fiduciary law and transparency laws. And you could fund all kinds of open source software projects. And then the second side to that is whenever you build a trust, you try to make it where it's generating its own revenue, right? With diversified assets under management. So for example, like maybe it owns 2% of a mining company and it's getting paid dividends. And you just make a point to have a self-sufficient open source software funding machine. That was the entire idea behind Get Graphene OS. Or I mean, I got a couple of companies that I literally only built them to provide a consistent revenue stream for things like open source software. But those two ideas would merge together really well, much better than just a couple of people holding a wallet. You know, like that is such an old way of doing things, like from just a knowledge of banking perspective. This was destined to happen.
Yeah, let's talk about the incident first before we get into moving forward, what we should be doing, different ways of raising money. What do you think about just the hack itself? What went down? What's your take on that? How they were running?
I'm like an inherently very skeptical person. Like, how do I even know that that is in fact the way that the wallets were kept? How do I even know that there's not 5 or 6 Luigis or what? To me, they're just people on a computer screen that I've seen in, well, not in this case, but it's people on the internet that have like done a video with somebody or whatever. And very few people even have the time to audit things like view keys and all of that. And so it's hard for us to even know what actually happened, right? And it's hard for us to know that if they were in fact storing them in the ways that they say, or if other things happened with, when Fluffy Pony was being attacked by the government, right? Like, we don't really know all of the players involved, if there's this like some secret gag order, if maybe Luigi's been compromised in some sort of way where they have like his daughter hostage. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess the bottom line is we don't know. Random X Explorer, what's going on? You there, Random X Explorer?
What an awesome name, by the way.
Are you there? Shortwave Surfer, you want to chime in? What'd you think about the hack itself before we get into what should be done to fix the situation moving forward?
When I saw that, my first when I first saw the number, my first thought was, ouch, that has to hurt. The fact that he was using a Windows machine at all, I think that was probably the biggest problem. The Ubuntu part was a bit of a problem because he had it, I guess he had it online from what I understand. But the fact that he was using a Windows machine as a hot wallet, like he was using the Linux machine to hold the main thing, and then he was transferring funds to a hot wallet on the Windows machine. And I mean, using Windows in a circumstance like this is just not a good thing, because Lord only knows what's in Windows. We don't know because it's proprietary. You can't pick apart all that code.
What do you guys think about the fact that it was Luigi and Fluffy Pony that had access to these seeds? What's your take on that? I mean, I saw
both the same guys.
They just don't have icon.
I saw Fluffy getting attacked brutally on Twitter, which was, I think, unfortunate to see, given all the work this guy has done for the community. People just assuming the worst without any evidence. But yeah, fact is, these guys did know what the seed phrase was. Just curious what people are thinking about that.
Hey guys, sorry I had to take care of the fire in the house. Question: do we actually know how the hack happened? So when I read it, I understand that actually this is still unclear.
Yeah, no, we don't know. We just know that the coins were swept, right? Somebody had access to the private key, and somebody used that to essentially create a wallet with private key. We have Andres as well. We'll get to that part of the story.
Why I am not hearing anything? Sorry. Wait.
You can't hear us? I don't know. Let's continue to talk about like what the hack and what people think about the setup that was being used, the fact that 2 members in the community had access to the seed phrase. What are you guys thinking about this?
So I just want to point out, like, so I've been into like not so much digital security, but just security in general for a really long time. And the thing is like when people jump to conclusions about the things that they do actually know, well, the thing is like either one of these guys could, you know, they probably have friends coming and going. Those people probably already know about XMR. And the thing is like any one of those friends in some kind of bad relationship or whatever may have just been like, yeah, I'm gonna take all the Monero out of this wallet. There doesn't even like the hack could have been just somebody had access to one of their computers.
Right.
You know, like we have no idea right now.
Yeah, because right. Which is why, moving forward, we may need to do things like utilizing multi-sig, right? So it can't just be one guy with the seed that can be compromised. Sunita, you want to bring up the blog post that Justin put up where he's been,
and Blin. Don't forget Blin.
Blin was part of that?
No, add Blin.
Oh. Yeah, you could bring up other people that are in the backstage, Sunita. Oh, wait, did Sunita go away? I think she went away. Andres, what's going on, man?
She had enough. Everything's good. How are you?
Good, man.
Thank you. I'm actually a bit delayed because I was walking to my house on time to appear here, and I got interrupted by basically one of the presidential candidates that we have in Argentina. Suddenly it was a rally like 10 blocks from my home, and all the streets were closed. I had to take a big thing around. But yeah, such a sad thing what happened with the CCS, and we don't know anything about it. So
yeah, I mean, how do you, I guess the first question I've been asking everybody, I mean, how do you feel about the hack itself?
It's, I mean, it's one of those things that we know so little about it that it's just jumping into conclusions. I'm not saying that we won't know in the future, but it could be from the easiest and most stupid and obvious and really bad explanation, which is someone just stolen the CCS money. One of the custodians, we don't know. I tend to err on the side of that everybody is a good person, not a bad person. So I don't think it's fair after all the all what, I don't know, Fluffy, for example, has done through the years, or Luigi handling the CCS money for so many years. All of a sudden they turn evil and scam everybody. So that's not fair, I think, unless you have any proof. On the other side, the details about how the security was handled are kind of weird, or you would assume that people like are very hardcore Monero from the OGs have like the best security setup ever for such kind of funds, and it looks like it wasn't the case. So a bit of negligence there, but at the same time there's so much you can do, because if you do like the perfect security setup, it's basically unusable. You cannot use it. It's just those are funds that need to be first gathered, and then you need to be able to transfer them on kind of a regular basis. It's not like a really cold wallet. You need to pay people that do work for the CCS. So from time to time you are bound to be exposed, and I think it's one of those places when you can see some of the little things that are still not totally ironed out in Monero. For example, multisig is. I'm not even sure that if multisig works properly or it's just too cumbersome to use. But basically, nobody uses multisig in Monero. Yeah, almost nobody. Right now, supposedly have a solution right now for enterprises. I haven't tried it yet, but that's something. On the other side, you have hardware wallets. We don't have a native open source hardware wallet for Monero, so it's more secure towards some kind of attacks, but at the same time, you are trusting the code, the security element of Ledger or the code from Trezor, and it's been known that if you have a physical access to the Trezor, also you can get compromised. So there's no perfect solution. What I do think is that it's a very expensive learning opportunity, very expensive. But maybe we can design a better CCS. My opinion is not that we don't need a CCS, but we can make it better. In the case of, for example, Monerujo, we already done our own funding system that is totally based on CCS and the work that somebody else did as well. I know that not everybody can do that because you need some kind of prestige in the community to trust you that you're actually going to do whatever you ask people funds to do. But the goal of Monero is always decentralized. So if we can decentralize a bit more the security of the CCS, if we can decentralize the opportunities for funding, like the bounty system that we have, that Seth, I think, set up, decentralizing stuff more and more. But I think it's sad. I think it's sad that we lost so much money in the meantime.
Yeah, I mean, I had money in there that was waiting to be collected from the CCS that I did years ago, and I've been waiting to basically submit at a time when I thought I had achieved enough, which I certainly think I have.
Yeah, me too. Yes.
But that money's gone now. I don't know what's going to happen. I was relying on it. It's something that gave me the motivation to do everything I did and take all the risks that I've taken along the way.
Yeah.
With that, I heard discussion that they might take money now from the general fund, right, and use that to pay out CCSs that were stagnant, that didn't get paid out for the hack happened.
Yeah, of course, I'm an interesting party in the whole thing because I am also in the middle of a CCS project. I was just weeks ago from collecting my first payment of the whole thing that I've written for the Monero Garden project. So of course I'm an interesting party, but for what I read, yeah, the ongoing projects will be funded through the general fund, and I think it's the right move, considering how much money that implies compared to how much there is in the general fund, which is basically a general fund. The usage of those funds are always up to discussion. It's not like, they were meant for something else than development around Monero that is supposed to go through the CCS. So it's unfortunate, but I don't think it's a big issue for now. But looking forward, I'm already seeing. I can imagine a lot of discussion about how we are going to do this in the future, because and with total reason. I mean, people are not just going to okay, let's donate to the next CCS and let's just handle the security the same way and let's have the same people. It's just not going to happen in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, my opinion is, because I see a lot of people talking about we should do this, we should do that. Anybody that has any ideas should just kind of go off and start it, right? Like the what's the one that Justin started, the Magic Crypto Fund. He went ahead and started another way to raise money for quote unquote community projects. Kuno exists, that was just created by Anarchio, and it's gaining organic adoption. Is it necessarily the best tool to use for these purposes. I don't know, but it does fit some niche. It's a super easy way to get up and running. There's no gatekeepers with Kuno. You don't have to submit a proposal and then for that, wait for that proposal to get accepted or not. There really are no gatekeepers. Anybody can throw something on there, but that comes with cons as well, right? Because now anybody could put a proposal up there that hasn't been vetted in any way. I think that's really what the Monero CCS offered more than anything else, was this vetting process where you had core kind of picking and choosing what they saw as being projects worthy of receiving funding. So they kind of are gatekeepers for better, not worse, I'd say, right? I think some gatekeeping is good. Or, there's all different versions. The Kuno thing still exists. So if you don't want to go the route of like a Monero type CCS, you could always use something like a Kuno. But I guess my point is, I think we just need to see people take initiative, and if they want to see something being done a certain way, go ahead and build it.
Totally.
Some idea for some new way we should fund projects. Go ahead and
That's kind of what I was getting at before about how, we need to learn the lessons that Monero is here to teach in the first place, which is the fact that it could even be known that there was this honeypot of lots and lots of anonymous money. Like the lack of privacy about even the existence of this wallet was part of the problem. Right. I don't go broadcast how much money I have in my house or whatever. Right. And that's one of the reasons why a foundation would have been the best model to carry out the CCS proposals, because you can document the available assets, separate from the storage of the assets. And you could even store them in multiple different ways at multiple different times. You can keep them moving and all of that. But if you want both auditability and you want, a fund where people are vetted, I mean, this was certainly not the way to do it. I've loved what the CCS has done, but I've never donated to it because it seemed like not the best way to carry this out from the beginning in my mind. I mean, a lot of people who have been on the show know, like, I do my donations directly, and I try to make sure that whatever the resources I'm using to further the cause, they come from a place where nobody knows they exist, and they end up directly in the hands of the person who needs the work done. But like I was saying before, I mean, the security, the threat model of this, even though, like I was saying before about like the Windows situation, the real threat model is the individual. The most trustworthy people in the entire world, if you can send them pictures of where their daughter goes to school and they start shaking, or like somebody who really, really believes in a project like this, you can really mess with their head if you know where their water supply is and the right chemistry to do that. Like, the human factor is always the weakest link, and the thing is like, it may have nothing to do with the digital security of these people.
Yeah, you're throwing out some scary thoughts there, but it's true. I do want to. I guess we'll be jumping around, right? So we're talking about new concepts for what the Monero CCS could be, but let's talk about the hack a little bit more. Enter Crypto is bringing up a point. We shouldn't be accusing anybody at all, but it would be remiss of us not to seriously consider that the C was just stolen by one of the two parties that had access to it. So that's the first thing that maybe people are thinking. Was it Fluffy or Luigi that just simply used the key and stole the funds? Me personally, I think we need to not assume the worst and give these people the benefit of the doubt, given all the tremendous amount of work that they've put into this open source project. Fluffy in particular from the early days, Luigi as well. I guess to Alaska A9's point, we don't even know if there are multiple Luigis, right? But assuming these are the people, we know that they've worked tirelessly on this project on Monero itself. So to not give them the benefit of the doubt and just throw them under the bus, I think it's disrespectful. I think we need to. I don't think we should be assuming the worst about these people, even though you might want to say, well, they had the keys. That being said, I think there's some investigation that should be done, right? I think there's already been talk about getting access to the computer that Luigi was using so it can be analyzed. And then maybe more can be learned from that. But I'd also say, too, I mean, the fact that it appears that the person who stole the crypto was kind of noobish about it and sloppy in what they did makes me think, there's no way it was one of these two guys. That just wouldn't make sense unless it's just like the perfect cover up, right? But my understanding is, and Andres, maybe you could chime in here, but it appears like the person who stole the seed proceeded to likely use Monero Wallet and use the new change feature built into it because of the way we saw the Monero outputs being broken up on the first transaction. Do you want to chime in on that? Am I accurate in saying that? And it seems like odd behavior by somebody who had the ability to get access to this wallet.
Yes. I'm lacking the technical capabilities to really analyze like chain analysis of what Justin has done and how much the conclusions are accurate. By the looks of it, it looks like that. I mean, it could also be someone passing. It's just like what you just say. Like it could be someone just using the old version of the first version of Monero's Pocket Change. It could be someone like impersonating someone using Pocket Change, like manually doing like a Pocket Change transaction, so it looks like Pocket Change. On the other side, it doesn't look. I mean, I am kind of flattered that like such a technical hacker managed to empty the wallets of the core team and then using Monero to spend is like super badass advertisement, but it doesn't make much sense. I mean, it doesn't look like a sophisticated, like after the fact behavior. But we will see. I think it's really, really too early to be able to analyze properly what happened.
And in a month, we will have someone announcing that they had the money and all of it, and he was just trying to test if Monero is really that privacy focused that it cannot be traced in any way.
Yeah. Okay, but let's say people. I mean, and I think Seth already tweeted about it, that and somebody else did as well. I don't remember who. That even though you can infer, I mean, the first version of Pocket Change diminishes your privacy in some aspects because it created like a specific set amount of change back. That doesn't mean it de-anonymizes you. It's changed now. It's a random amount between I think none basically, or 1 and 16. But this is a very special case when you have, I mean, basically it's like you're trying to follow the money, your own money. You know what I mean? You have the keys and the addresses on everything that was stolen, so you can you know all the outputs that are going in through the transactions, and it's just a matter of being able to trace it after the fact. It's not like someone watching, like a third party watching yourself without having access to all the information that we already have about the original wallet. It's just trying to guess which transactions go to whom, which will be the case for most people, you know.
Yeah, to add on to that, I've seen quite a few people. I've seen quite a few people on Twitter saying, "Oh, Monero apparently isn't all that private," and even a few prominent personalities that seem to kind of make their brand on decontextualized statements and sort of like just exaggeration about what the reality is. So yeah, I mean, the fact that we have the private keys and the view keys for this wallet has enabled some of the tracing that has been possible. But the other thing too is that the attacker,
you're referring to the Chris Blec post, right?
Yeah,
that up. But go ahead.
I mean, I'm slightly salty because Blec blocked me after pointing out what the law says about a certain
Well,
thing.
he just seemed to be the ultimate concern troll. That's his whole MO. That's what he does with any crypto, right? He's always attacking all these projects and pointing out the weaknesses. That's his MO. But he also, with the Monero community, I think he's used to going to these communities and pointing out these things and everybody going along with it. But I feel like the Monero community is a little bit more intelligent with what's going on. And here he is trying to concern troll. And it's like Monero's has always been well aware of this issue, right? It's not in denial of this. We talk about it all the time. So it's like for him to be like exposing it like it's new news, it's like it's old news, right? We always knew there was this flaw. But go ahead, Bawdy.
Yeah, I mean, I like the way that who was it? I can't remember his name right now. Anyways, one of the guys that did like one of the main reports on the tracing was like, these are poisoned outputs because we know exactly what the outputs are. So because of that, you can make statistical inferences about what was the most likely transaction that actually happened. And as Andres pointed out, this guy was apparently not very sophisticated in their understanding about how these about how outputs and ring signatures work. And if they had been, they might have just done something simple like, okay, after they swept all the funds, do a single transaction to dump it to a single wallet. And then from there, you're going to lose it in the noise, basically. So it doesn't seem like they're sophisticated in that manner. And moreover, these are all tracing methods that were documented years ago in Breaking Monero. So it's like, yes, the problem right now, it's a PR kind of thing. People are like, oh, well, look, they're now the Monero people are tracing Monero. And it's like, I know that this is too much nuance for Twitter. But no, this is not like, this is nothing new. And anyone that knows what they're doing. Oh, by the way, we've said for a long time that if you have a higher threat model, right? If you like this hacker obviously has a higher threat model. If you have a higher threat model, you're going to need to think about these things. If you're a darknet market vendor selling life-saving insulin and Bibles in China, you're going to need to think about these kinds of things because no, Monero isn't perfect, which is, again, more of a plug why we need to go to more rings and ultimately full membership proofs. But I just thought that was important to bring.
And just the way Chris Beck plays it, right? It appears the chain analysis psychopaths have figured out how to do. So the psychopath is Justin, right? Ernhofer of the Monero community, who's been talking about this issue forever. So he's not a chain analysis psychopath. He's a contributor to Monero that's been pointing out the flaw all along, which is the proper thing to do in a project like this, right? Not to be in denial of these issues. First of all, to call chain analysis people psychopaths is just idiotic. It's an issue we're going to have to deal with. They're not necessarily psychopaths. They're people that are just doing the rational thing, which is using a tool, and they're using it to track and trace transactions if they can.
And moreover, Justin is only using techniques that he helped to document years ago.
Right. And so the idea of crypto isn't the hope that sociopaths don't track and trace. It's to build crypto that can't be tracked and traced.
Wait a minute.
Exactly.
Chris,
I mean, it's fun. It's fun to just say, "Hey, Justin went to the dark side." It's all fun and good, but we cannot. Monero is not funded and is not developing in the idea that everybody is going to play along with us and just leave us to be super private and nobody's going to try to trace anything. We shouldn't assume that. So the more that people try to break it, the better. We will find things to fix earlier, and if it's friendly people doing the poking, even better, because we get another shot to fix it before the true bad guys do it. I mean, that's the way that I take it. So I think people take it. It's just like Bawdy says. I mean. One, you cannot get any nuance on Twitter. That is totally true. Someone just posted yesterday a picture of a Bitcoin school from Uruguay traveling here to Formosa, saying, "Hey, they're doing great things with Monero," and he got a flood of like maxis saying, "Oh, I guess it's shitcoin season now." Wow, 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 wow. So it's like, what the fuck? No, people, chill out. And Monero is not being traced. It's not that the Monero community or the Monero people have a switch that you can, okay, when they steal funds from us, we can just trace Monero, and it was all like a lie. No, it doesn't happen like that.
You know what's funny? Chris has a XMR support address, so basically he wants to clown Monero about this research of Justin trying to figure out where the money went, and he even has a XMR support address. So he basically
he's like that with all the
and you could argue that he doesn't care because he also has a Bitcoin address there for support.
But his conclusion is that this is not good for privacy because Justin is out there revealing this flaw and notifying exchanges to keep an eye out for this transaction.
Yeah, so
it is good for privacy because Justin is now revealing the flaw and bringing it to our attention. So now we can improve the Monero protocol, which we were already aware of anyway. But to pretend it doesn't exist in an incident like this doesn't make it better for privacy. The flaw is there, whether we want to ignore it or not.
You could even argue that he's helping someone that may need this kind of privacy, to know what's the dangers that they are facing somehow.
For the next hacker, right? Give it how to properly steal Monero.
You still have the general fund. The general fund is way bigger.
Your mic is scary fast, and someone and Sunita especially has their ears blown out by it.
Hey,
Andreas, turn your mic down.
Yeah, your mic is too loud. Sorry, guys. I had technical difficulties with my laptop, so now I'm on my phone.
I was just
is it a bit better now? Sorry.
Yeah, like your gain is super loud.
So much better.
So let's.
Sorry for that.
No
worries.
Talk
a little.
I was being too Latin here. Sorry.
You're worth every decibel of hearing damage. So the rants are many light years ahead of mine.
And bits.
Sorry, everybody. Sorry.
No problem. And
we're very polite from now on.
Some rewind. Last Canon mentioned about an hour ago. That's the last week I made the presentation of the Monero signer, and people didn't understand why it was necessary to have something like that. Well, this is why it's necessary. This is why it's necessary.
Yeah, what's really hilarious is like he literally did a presentation last week on a way that this could have been completely prevented, and it would have been totally impossible for any hack to take place. Like, and then the very next week we're talking about what do we do?
and you know what's the absolute scary thing? That about $500,000 was stolen from the wallet, converted into USD. Like, that kind of money could change someone's life forever.
Yeah,
it just disappeared like shit.
Yeah, 30,000.
Easy come, easy go, man. Whatever.
Yeah, but probably it wasn't easy come. So so much people donated to that.
Like I said on the outset of the show, crypto can be quite stressful.
Yeah.
What Justin put together here, though, is really fascinating, and I guess that is other news, right? So we know that Justin has resigned from Cake and moved on to other projects. It appears this is one of the big things he's working on. This Moon, what's it called? Moonstone research. So that's interesting to see. I'll try to get Justin on this week to do a Monero talk, to break this all down, to go over what exactly he was able to achieve with quote unquote tracing Monero's ring signatures. But yeah, it's interesting. It looks like he was able to go 2 transactions in, and obviously this is all probabilistic, right? It's not like there's, he's able to determine with any certainty, but with some probability, he's able to kind of pick out the transaction that would likely have gone to an exchange for exchanges to be on the lookout for. Yeah, do you guys have any further comments on this? What Justin has performed, and your thoughts on it?
I
think it's good.
Super interesting, and I'm sure he put a huge amount of work into it. But the easiest way to figure this out is try to figure out who's been to one of those 2 guys' houses for the last 3 months, and then figure out if one of them just gets like a whole bunch of random shit shipped to their door, and you have your answer. It's like
the problem is with posting the IDs of the transactions now is that it's been almost 3 months, so the exchanges that possibly would have been able to catch the money that was attacked and stolen, there is no reason or chance, I think, for any exchange to be able to catch that now. Probably the money is in cash right now. So,
I mean, certainly maybe, but that's kind of the reason why I'm thinking like anybody who has done this, if they've already liquidated all of it within 3 months, it's pretty much impossible to hide the fact that they've gotten a huge boost in their available income, right? Like it's almost certainly going to be the case if we find out who did this, that either it's going to end up being one of the 2 directly, or it's going to be somebody that has like come and gone from their life in their house. But then the other plausibilities are, somebody figured out who is a likely candidate for being one of these 2 and found a way into the hot wallet, or, some government agency or mafia type agency is putting pressure on one of these 2 people directly for reasons that we don't know right now. I mean, that's like 99% of anything that could have happened is one of those 4 things. So
yeah, but if a different person stole the money, they don't have to be so much boosted in income. Probably, if I were the one who stole it, I'd spend it really slowly, so it's not noticeable.
So comrades,
stop helping them. Stop helping them, please.
Well. Would the hacker please jump up on stage? Please jump up on stage.
Yeah. Well,
tell us your story.
We won't even come after you. It'd be really interesting to know how all of this
hear what's going on.
Yeah, well, anyone with a minimum IQ points of 80 would do the same, I think.
Look, the Monero community has a deep sense of respect for red team players. Like, I think a lot of us have been involved in pen testing at one point or another. We don't even hate the guy who stole all of this money. It would be really cool to find out how.
Yeah, well, we both hate him and not.
Rise to Liberty saying, what is the biggest takeaway we can look at from this entire situation? And Enter Crypto is saying, I think the biggest takeaway is that we need a better way to fund CCS going forward. Yeah, exactly. I think, that's what will come out of this, right? It was a tragic event, but we'll use that to our advantage in 2 ways. One, to fix the privacy flaw that Monero has with ring signatures, which we were already aware of, but it brings it even more to light, makes it more of a concern. Obviously, everybody's already focused on that with Seraphis and increasing the ring sizes, and then eventually adding full membership proofs, which would make all of this completely irrelevant. But it does add more, I think, momentum towards that. And then the second thing is fixing how we do funding in the Monero ecosystem. And my like I said, my suggestion is that I think those things just need to happen organically. It's not about, all agreeing on we need to do it this way. It's about trying all different ways and seeing this as an opportunity to offer these different services to the community. For example, Kuno, like I said, exists. Is that the solution? I don't think so, but maybe there's some hybrid there. Even with XMR Bazaar, we're experimenting with multisig. We've made some progress with it. It's actually the same guy who built Kuno, and we're talking about how to add Kuno-like fundraising to XMR Bazaar that would also utilize multisig, but not as easy said as done, because if you're trying to do multisig with all the donors, that's not going to be very practical. I'm sure there's other ideas out there. We talked about the Magic Monero Fund or whatever. I always forget the name. What is that thing called? The Magic Fund or the... Anybody know that? I don't know.
It is Magic Monero Fund.
Magic Monero Fund.
The Magic Monero Fund, which is a solution that already exists. So I think maybe a lot of energy maybe will get pushed towards that. People seeing that as a viable thing. And then whatever else anybody comes up with it. But I don't think it's about sitting and waiting for Core to tell us, this is what we need to do. Just let these solutions organically come to the surface. Andres, one of the solutions that's popped up is what you guys have done, right, at Moneruju, with how you guys were trying to raise money for some of your features. I think that's an example of something. Has that caught any traction? Has that gained traction?
Yeah, totally. It got more... do I sound okay now? I cannot lower it anymore. Okay.
It's fine. Go ahead.
It's fine. Basically everything got funded. It got more traction. The funding part got more traction than the working part. We are way behind schedule with what we promised, but yeah, it worked. But again, I don't think...
How does that work? Is it like a Kickstarter where the funds go back if people don't fully fund it, or it's just...
No. That's the... this is so nuanced, everything. Just sorry for my English, but that's one of the important part of the CCS, because it's not only the technical way that it works. It's also that, in a way, if you're donating to the CCS, and I think it's good for middle size, at least, kind of projects. When a lot of funds may be raised, and you still are perhaps months away from the delivery of the thing that you are funding. Okay, so and it had happened in the past that someone proposes something, they never complete the task, and the funds that were donated to the CCS for that specific project got back to another CCS after a lot of time, But otherwise, the money would have been lost, or even to the general fund, So using the CCS, it's a bit of a guarantee. I know it's centralized and it depends on a few people, but if you're donating to the CCS, you know that the money is not going nowhere. Basically, if you're paying for some guy and the guy just disappeared, the money goes nowhere. And with a coin like Monero, which is so private in practice, there is not a little detail. That's something that I know that has encouraged many people to donate to the CCS, because they see, well, worst case, this doesn't get fulfilled, but something else will, and it's kind of bettered by the core community. So it's not the same as Monero. In Monero, you have to trust us. It's just like our own CCS. I mean, we get the money, and we are the thing that we are doing for transparency is the same thing that happens with CCS. We have a wallet with a view key that everybody can see how much money got in, but they cannot see how much got out. That's the key detail that here I haven't listened or read anybody talking about this in this specific case, which is something that if Seraphis doesn't break everything and Monero explodes, is one of the few things of the things that are going to change a lot, because with Seraphis you are supposed to have view wallets that you can also see money going out, right? So right now the CCS, let's imagine I am in control of the wallet of the CCS, and I can put out all the view keys that I want, and people can monitor all the money coming in. I can monitor. I can create a view only wallet and make it very secure, so the money is not at risk, and I can check it every day to see how much money got in. But since I cannot see how much money gets out, the moment that the wallet is most vulnerable is the moment that I have to send money. So maybe, and it's what happened in this case, I'm only noticing the money that is gone 3 weeks after the fact that is gone. Yeah, when I have to send it to someone.
Of course, when you have to check the wallet.
And that's the most vulnerable moment of the wallet, because the wallet is unlocked and ready to send funds. That's the moment where anybody could send funds anywhere. So with a view-only wallet with Seraphis that you can also see money going out, that's a good monitoring system, because many people can just check it regularly without having access to actually spend funds from that wallet. And if you see something like this, you notice it right away.
Yeah. Rewriting to LS Canon, you said that we don't hate the hackers. We do hate them, but we praise them.
Yeah, Red Team, I mean, you could really think of it as like the world's greatest bug bounty if it actually was a hack.
Yeah.
I mean, I remain convinced it's probably not a hack, but...
Yeah, well, there was something like this with MetaMask maybe a few months ago, that you didn't click any official links or anything, just your funds were stolen. Actually, my funds, some of them, it was $500 in 2 NFTs, are just gone. So, yeah.
I mean, you know, this one of the reasons why it's like, I mean, Bawdy hit the nail on the head. I realized like having a separate computer with cubes on it is amazing. I mean, little birdie told me that may be something we do around here in Alaska.
Maybe
but the thing is it like a graphene phone that, you know, is even just in airplane mode. I mean, the security model of just having a graphene phone with just a regular, you know, like Monero.com wallet / Cake wallet or Moneruyo, or I mean, the level of security you get out of just using a normal graphene phone that is set aside for that purpose, it is nearly equivalent to Tails, because the way that graphene is built, right? It's everything is already compartmentalized. Like the permissions are extremely strict. Like that security model by itself would eliminate the potential for just about any kind of hack you can think of. I mean, in fact, the Israeli government were complaining, not even like a year and a half ago, at how they absolutely hated the fact that graphene couldn't be penetrated by Pegasus. That's the most advanced red team like applications out there is Pegasus. And even Pegasus can't get a graphene phone without somebody doing something absolutely like beyond retarded. So the thing is like the security model is almost certainly not the problem, that, you know, we don't have easy to use, highly accessible. I mean, Bawdy is right. You know, having like a cold computer with cubes is probably the top tier that you could possibly hit. But, you know, a graphene phone is just about as good. And anybody can know how to do that.
Solder down the Wi-Fi chip from the phone.
I think Monero is actually kind of designed for this. It's a wallet that goes through Tor, and the whole thing with it is that you can get a version of it that only lets you do offline signing through QR codes. So the wallet, the seed itself is completely offline, and then you have to sign through scanning QR codes.
Yeah, it's basically a phone hardware wallet.
Yeah, I'm honestly on the fence about which is more secure, cubes or graphene. All other factors being equal, it's probably graphene, guys. Like these, especially like on a brand new Pixel 8, they've mitigated entire classes of vulnerabilities, particularly memory vulnerabilities. So like if you had a dedicated laptop that you only run cubes and you have anti-evil maid protection, Just like the base install of cubes, and you only use it for like specific crypto operations, should be extremely secure. Even if you connect that computer online, as opposed to like, a graphene phone. The thing is that the biggest problem is the hardware and the firmware. You have just massive open vulnerabilities on basically all desktop
it's really
and
about the
laptop
core
systems.
boot functionality that you can get out of cubes that you can't get out of a Pixel phone. That, like, when you're talking about Intel management engines and proprietary firmware, I mean, I'd have to say there's a lot of laptops and desktops out there where you can have
but
better firmware.
You mentioned the Pixel 8 about a few seconds ago, that it's patched and all that. Like Pixel 8 wouldn't be the best choice because it's expensive. It's a really expensive phone, and most people don't have the money just to spend it on a hardware wallet-like phone. Then I'd use Monero Signer, probably. And also, if someone wants to,
you can get a pretty beefy laptop to just put cubes on with open source firmware and all of that to kill the Intel management engine. I mean, to me, that's the best way to do it.
And of course, if someone wants to use the Pixel for daily usage too, then for the EU people, it wouldn't be the best choice, because in EU their 5G is useless because we use other bandwidths.
Would it make sense for wallets like Cake Wallet and Monero to develop a way to generate a wallet offline that you can then send your Monero to from like another version of the app?
I think the problem
as a feature,
the problem is
like,
you
that
can
cool little thing to do that would potentially add some security if you wanted to, in an easy way, generate a fresh wallet offline where you feel like there's no corruption that could have taken place in terms of it being connected to the internet when the seed was generated. Just curious if people have thoughts on that, if that would make sense.
You should be able to generate the seed itself by just disconnecting the phone from the internet and then just doing that. But that doesn't mean that as soon as you reconnect it, that's gonna still be offline. That's the problem.
Yeah, no, I mean, you would then delete the wallet, right? You would then delete the wallet from the app, right?
The app will let you generate the seed with no internet connection, and then all you'd have to do is delete the wallet. But you have to have the seed written down somewhere and then use the view key.
Can you do that on Cake and Monero? Can you do that offline? Generate the? I know technically, the app should be able to do it, but can you do it? Like,
probably, but I think, as Shortwave Surfer said, that it would probably be on the internet a few seconds.
No, the idea is you would then write down the seed, right? So you'd
and you'd
the wallet, delete the wallet.
Yeah, then it would probably work.
Yeah. Andres, what do you think about that?
I was just trying to demonstrate it online, but again, I don't think that Monero or Cake uses like any special like a key or seed generation algorithm. So it would be just the same as using I don't know, the Monero GUI or CLI on an offline computer. The thing is when you plug it back on again. And there are already protocols to. I mean, if you want to generate like a seed offline, there are already protocols when you can add some randomness by your own, like.
I know. For more advanced users, right? If
the thing is when you have to use it afterwards.
Right. I'm saying as a simple, you guys you don't put your noob hat on, right? So I'm talking about for the noobs, right? They only use Cake Wallet, they only use Monero, they don't touch the client, they don't really. There are a lot of people like that exist, right? That don't get beyond the app. So for them, a way for them to just generate a fresh Monero seed, Monero wallet that they then write down. They write down the seed. They have the address to send funds to, and then they delete the wallet. They delete the wallet, so it's no longer on the app. and then they can load it, and they could send Monero to it, and it becomes their offline cold storage.
The truth is,
Okay.
what
They didn't have to do anything. They didn't have to
like,
run the client. They didn't have
So-
to generate the
So-
keys on your computer on
In Monerujo, I just took my phone and threw it into airplane mode and opened Monerujo, clicked add, clicked create wallet, and then did the little steps or whatever. And it's giving me a seed. And I
Okay.
can say that I have noted down the seed, and it's giving me the seed that's completely offline. I have airplane mode enabled right now, so there's no internet connection at all.
Yeah,
And it
but
is still giving me a seed to write down.
There's something I think it's important to point out, especially for noobs, that they don't realize. It's not your phone so much. It's not your laptop or the operating system. It's usually all of the extra crap that you install, all of the games that you play and all the different apps that you try and, play with and then you delete. It's one of those things that's going to have the attack vector into your phone that's going to compromise your seed. So what you really, really need to do is kind of like what Doug is saying, find a way to securely generate that seed. If you're just using your regular Android phone and you install Cake Wallet, but you have all this other crapware installed, you're still putting yourself at risk. There's still the potential that could happen. Again, Graphene OS, got to keep plugging that. But even on your Graphene OS, you can still pwn yourself there if you're installing a bunch of crapware. So really what you'd want to do, like from a new perspective, generate a new profile. It's really simple. You go into the settings, generate a new profile, log into that profile, and then generate your seed on that profile. And you're gonna mitigate a lot of potential attack vectors there. So generate the seed, write it down, then delete that profile. And that's like one way that you could, in a slightly more secure fashion, generate your seed. And or if you have an old phone, wipe that thing, factory reset it, right? So that it's completely clean. Just any old phone, doesn't matter. Factory reset it, install just the one application, Cake Wallet or Monerujo, generate your seed that way, and then delete that wallet. That's going to be far more secure than probably most other ways that you might try to do.
That's exactly what I'm getting at, Bawdy, and I think that's just
and
for
to,
the
and to
that's
keep the phone.
Simple thing that really anybody can do. That's really people that really just rely on phones, right? That aren't dabbling with the client.
And to keep the phone offline, just simply pull the APK from an internet connected device onto the phone using a flash drive.
Yeah,
that way it never touches the internet at all.
And also, this is for Androids. So many people are flaming iPhones, but their system is so logged down that even if you were maybe trying to install some app that would have a virus on Android, if you had an iPhone, it probably wouldn't be able to get your seed saved on the iPhone because it's so logged down. That's not even you, not even the application is able to get it.
Yeah, that's
but then your threat.
True. Apple is secure against everything except for Apple.
Yeah, of course.
All right, guys. I think we've kind of thoroughly covered this topic as big as it is for now, right? I mean, we don't know what happened. Nobody knows what happened with the hack. The way the CCS was being run was certainly not ideal, and that's been revealed. We know that things need to be changed. Like I said, there's other means and methods that can be used to raise funds, but it would be nice to see CCS come up with a new version themselves for all the reasons we're talking about, for the things Andres is saying. And yeah, that's really it, right? Now we have to see what happens next. I don't know if anybody has any final comments, things they want to throw out there.
I had tried to get to a certain place with this at the beginning, but a lot of people just look at the side of, okay, you collect money, you donate money, you encourage projects, but if you really want to look at the heavy hitters that are making like huge changes, you really want to look at the bad guys right now. Right. So a lot of these bad guys that are having huge impacts on the world today, they use things like the Gates Foundation or where they build an ever increasing size of income producing assets, right? Farmland that they're leasing, or, things that you can guarantee are producing actual revenue every year, highly diversified all over the world, right? And then it's the income of those businesses that they're using to make their donations, right? The idea of having a big pool of capital in the form of Monero and then just sitting on it until projects are finished is like, I mean, from the perspective of, oh, it's great, it's Monero. Well, the thing is use that Monero to start income producing businesses that are like a safe bet, and then use the resulting margins from the business to make your contributions to the open source software community, especially Monero, right? And the thing is instead of waiting for Douglas Tuman to have accomplished X amount of content creation or whatever, the CCS should have been like, oh, he's got a coffee business. Here's everything you're hoping for. Use the proceeds from that coffee business to fund your Monero operation. Like, that is the correct way to do this. And anybody who's in high finance would have been thinking that from the minute they realized there was a couple $1,000s in that, in the CCS wallet. Like, why just sit on capital when what you should be doing is generating revenue with the capital? It also takes the fluctuations out of, crypto volatility. Not that Monero isn't effectively a stable coin at this point, but like you can eliminate volatility. You can peg it to the actual growth or, reverse growth in the economy. Investing in actual businesses that make regular donations to the projects is so far better than the method of just like piling up Monero, trusting people to secure it no matter how good they are. And that's why I'm saying, like, we have totally lost the forest through the trees here. On one hand, we've got a bunch of people saying we need to invest in the parallel economy. And then on the other side, we have, this is our CCS wallet that has a shitload of Monero just fucking sitting there, not making any gains on anything. It's like, what the fuck are we doing here? Like,
yeah, but how does that work for like the developers, for example? Some dev, whatever Co is developing Seraphis. So you're saying those people should be paid out up front and not to complete their tasks?
Go ahead. If somebody else had something to chime in on, go ahead. But I'm actually already doing this now. So, I'd be happy to share it afterwards.
So I think Alaskanon meant not the people that would get the CSS money should get it upfront, but rather the wallet that it's full of Monero should be getting gains on something, maybe locked down to 3 months or not locked down.
I think he's saying the Monero shouldn't be sitting there waiting for them to complete the task. It should be paid out.
Either that's paid out or getting gains on something like invested, because like that, it's just losing value there. And
I understand that part of the concept. I'm just saying.
Okay, so this is what I do currently, just to give you an idea. I have like 3 businesses personally, and I work with several other businesses, and I have an expectation if they want me to work for them, right? That they are donating X percentage of the increase on their revenue. Since I started there, X percentage of the increase on their revenue has to be going towards open source software development projects. Okay. Or another thing is out of all of my businesses, I have a specific person that looks at how much profit that we have that isn't allocated for some further investment. And then she literally goes out and like $20, $40, $60 at a time starts donating to just dozens of open source software projects, right? But the thing is like the amount of money in total that has become is way bigger than it would be if you do it any other way. You need to first focus on the core business models that are revenue generating business models. And you need to build into those models that they are supporting the development for stuff that doesn't have funding on its own, right? And then and I'll tell you, like, over the 10 years that I think it's like 10 years now that we've been doing it this way, I mean, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars has been generated by doing it that way. And when we started Get Graphene OS, right, which we put it on hold because sourcing like viable phones has become such an issue that like any that I find are already sold. There's not even a reason to have a website or anything, because I mean the demand is so gigantic at this point. Well, we take 20% of all of the money that is generated as profit in that and donate it directly to Graphene. And then we take another 20% and donate it directly toward like 3 core apps that have promising, 5-year plans, right? Like the Oxen project and Session, right? But like the entire business exists for the purpose of funding open source software. And so you have something that makes its own money. It is its own entity, right? And we just took a whole bunch of capital, invested in, and I mean, with the Get Graphene, right? I just took a whole bunch of money, bought a shitload of phones, threw Graphene OS on them, and it's like, hey, if you buy this because you're a noob and you don't know that you can set up a phone properly, or like 1 out of 10 phones ends up not being viable or whatever, right? You can take the guesswork out of it, pay us a premium, we'll mail it to you, and then all of the profit that was generated from that is going to fund further development for Graphene, right? The idea that you had enough capital in the CCS proposal to start an income generating business, and it was just sitting there, right? Over 5 years, you could have increased the total pool by this massive amount and still been paying people out. You know what I'm saying? Like, you still could have absolutely been paying people out the whole time, but you could have taken a huge chunk of the capital and turned it into an actual income producing business. Now, one of the reasons why I like that model so much is this. If you have an LLC charter or a corporate charter, you are legally bound to that charter. So if you say X percentage of all profit goes towards funding free and open source software that meets these requirements, and then X percentage of all the profit goes to growing the business model, right? They are legally bound and you can audit it. And not only that, but if it's not a profitable business, you can swap out people for people who generate more money, right? Like, but just nowhere else in the world do you just leave a big fucking pile of capital just sitting there not making money.
So the CCS could have invested in something like Gratuitous if Doug agreed to give 1% of the profits from Gratuitous back to the CCS each time he got it or whatever.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you have a big chunk of capital, you would look at the profitability of such a business model, but the ultimate goal would be to diversify or just buy a couple of shares of stuff that's super fucking stable, like General Mills or something,
I in theory, I really like your approach, and I think you're right, because it doesn't make sense to just have capital laying around. But I think it adds a lot of complexity to the social aspects of the community, because unless you end up on a Luigi situation again, it's just one guy decides what to invest in, and we all trust the guy. If you don't do that, you end up creating like the Monero Foundation, which is something that sounds awful to a lot of people in the Monero community, with a board and with a few or a lot of members, if possible, that decides, basically like Norway, it's like, okay, we found money, let's buy shares and let's invest on everything else, so it gives us revenue, and with that revenue we are going to pay in a sustainable way the development of Monero. I don't think it's a bad idea, but the devil is in the details, because the way that you structure such a thing, and then the way that you decide who gets to decide what to invest or what not to invest, it's a fucking huge problem in crypto land.
Monero's used to buy U.S. government bonds.
Yes, it's so weird. You end up with a DAO or with, okay, how do we vote? I mean, I'm not saying that it's not worth pursuing that ideal, but I can imagine a lot of problems from that fact. How to decide what to do, how to decide who takes part of the whole thing. It's very, very tricky. We have mocked the Zcash Foundation not only for the dev tax, but also for centralizing stuff in institutions. We have taken pride of we don't have like a Monero Foundation, so to speak, to foster the development of Monero. I know it's it's a gray area because we have the core team and we have whales and it's not so decentralized or so pretty when you dig into it, but it takes a lot of work to set up something like that.
The way that the monetary system is structured kind of puts us in a weird position when it comes to the decision whether to invest assets into a real business or to just just to let your assets sit there. The problem is that everything has been hyper financialized, hyper monetized, and so sorry, excuse me. So you get into the situation where just holding assets can make you rich as fuck, right? Like you could put $100,000 into something that just goes up a lot, and even though it might not serve any real economic purpose, you can become a millionaire on the basis of that alone. Whereas like actually starting a business, putting money into a business is a lot of work, and it takes a lot of dedication and time to make that succeed. As I'm sure Doug or Alaska can tell anyone, like it's business is difficult. And so it's kind of like this weird perverse counter incentives that we're fighting against even in cryptocurrency to have a circular economy, to invest money into real businesses, when we know that the hyper financialization of the economy causes these big cycles where your assets will really make you more money just sitting in some dumb shiny rock sometimes, or some dumb shiny crypto sometimes. So I don't really have any solutions for that, but I feel like it's worth pointing out.
Good point.
One point. I think if you don't change anything, the question should be there 2,600 XMR in one wallet, or if you have a bank account in the EU, you're insured till 100,000 euros. So if you have more there and something happens, you're fucked. You get only 100,000 euros. So the question should be, in the first place, should there be multiple wallets if there is not something like multi-sig or the system like Alaska proposed? Just to think about. It's like for everyone, for every noob, or if you should have multiple wallets, maybe saved in different locations, and not put everything in one wallet. At least the amount what you okay to lose. And unfortunately, the 2,600 XMR is a big amount which the community don't like to lose.
So how we're doing this right now, and then how we're trying to set it up. So right now, because all of the businesses that I'm using are my own or friends of mine, right? We just have one person that we have doing all of this, but we set it up this way with the goal of you have three like cooperating foundations. So one is people who have at least a certain amount of documentable, like Git repository maintenance of some kind, or what, that have a documentable history of working in open source software for at least X number of years. And you start with 3, you go up to 5, and then eventually 7. So there's never ties, right? And those people are allocating funds directly to people who are working on open source software. Then you have one person who's running a foundation that has no way of, a different foundation, right? That has no way of financially benefiting from the donations, right? The person that we're using right now, I mean, she's fully disabled. She's completely outside of the system. She has absolutely no incentive to do anything different other than be just a qualified doler out of finances. And then the third group of people, you have just, some kind of philosophical machinery behind them, keeping them honest, right? And so one example that I had come up with is you just find like 5 small group church gatherings, right? And you put them all together and you say, there's funds coming in, and at the end of every one of your meetings, make sure that they get distributed somehow, or wait until the next meeting, right? But you don't do it all in one place, you do it in 3. But then as far as the business investment side of things goes, I can give you an example, like Friday of next week, and then Saturday and Sunday, and you might not even see me because I'll be doing this, but I'm going to a massive agriculture conference in the area. And I mean, massive by Alaska standards, because there's like barely anybody up here. But and one of the things that we're trying to do is, okay, well, we would like to acquire a sizable amount of agriculturally viable farmland, right? And we'd like to put it right next to somebody who already has the capital and the equipment and everything to, you know, to like work this farmland. And we have two offers, which is we'll pay them outright actual money, and then we'll pay for our own seeding and all of that other stuff for him to just work. And then when the price of hay or, you know, grain or whatever we're growing out there goes up, we'll sell into the market to stabilize. And when it goes down, we'll hoard, right? And so in other words, we will work directly with this farmer to stabilize the price of grain. And then the second side of things is we're going to take available capital and we're going to do basically grain vaulting, right? Which is there's no financial incentive for a farmer to store grain for the next year, but the public has every incentive to store grain for the next year, right? And so my point is there's like a million ways that you can take any kind of class of capital and you can put it into real stuff and you can diversify the crap out of it. And then you can turn it into slowly leaching out investable capital, right? And the fact that we're not doing that, and it doesn't have to be one person. It doesn't have to be like, oh, well, the CCS is now governed by this guy, but he buys grain. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying it's incumbent upon ourselves. In fact, to this day, any military literature you look into, the most powerful weapon ever conceived of and for all of the future is the squad-sized element, right? That's why Derek Bros and, you know, the Freedom Cell, they tell you you're looking for about 8 people. It's the magic number. It always has been, right? And those 8 people need to take their available finances for the purposes of investing or whatever. They come together and they need to use it to create income producing assets. And then several groups of 8 people who like where that's going need to bring their income producing assets together and create circular economies for the purposes of investing in the development of stuff, right? And the thing is I know this works because I've been doing it for years, right? Like a bunch of people who have been on this show have benefited financially from what I just described. Okay, like they don't know how I get the money. They don't know where it comes from, and they don't fucking have to know. It's not the problem, right? Doug says, hey, I got this cool Noto project. And I'm like, dude, I'm all in, you know? Or like, I mean, you know what I'm talking about? Like there is ways where you can take revenue and turn it into an income producing asset. And you can have it distributed amongst a group of trusted people on a smaller scale. And then you just have to connect, like, you know, like the Freedom Cell movement is talking about. You just have to connect different groups, different small groups of people with their 10,000 a year or whatever. And then they all collaborate to say, hey, you know, 3% of our $10,000 a piece, all of us need to make a point to be donating to this particular open source software project. And we need to make sure that we're seeing these milestones. And as long as they're getting, because whether or not they have the money now, they can count on having the money as a group over time, right? You don't have to have the money sitting in an account to know it will be there, because as you guys have probably noticed, that money isn't there anymore, right? So having it sitting there didn't do a damn thing. But if it was already in income producing assets, we know that the money would come again. I've invested into a bunch of projects that went nowhere. But the thing is, you know, the 20% that they succeed, the 30% that succeed, they're totally worth like gambling on all of these different places, right? And so that's why you want to have dividend assets or income producing assets or whatever. And you can, like Bawdy does at the beginning of every single show, he shows you like you can average out expecting these kinds of gains. Like there's this chance that this will go up, this chance that this will go down. But if you're diversifying enough, you can pretty much bank on coming out ahead. every single week, right? Why take a big chunk of money and leave it sitting there when all you have to do is go outside, talk to your neighbors and be like, hey, what do you guys think about pitching in $100 a month to support, the graphene OS development or what? And by the way, I've done it, right? Just knock onto a random neighbor. Hey, can I come over here and collect $20 from you every week so I can give it to these people over here? I'll prove that I did it. Like usually they're just like, oh my God, this scary guy looks like he's armed to the teeth, wants my money. Just don't threaten him and you'll be fine.
All right. Any other thoughts people want to leave at? I do, I hear what you're saying, Alaska Anon, but I do see there being some version of the current CCS that already exists working and being viable with multi-sig, particularly for development-based projects where people have a proposal, something they want to work on, and then they reliably get paid out once it's determined that they completed the task. Granted, the money may have to sit there and it's not being invested in gold or McDonald's or Coca-Cola at the time, but I do see there being a use case for that, particularly with multisig, and I think multisig can really solve the problem that was exposed here. But I totally get what you're saying as just in general another way of thinking about all this, putting money to use and then having projects kick back into donating to the protocol itself by giving a percentage of their earnings back into the project, which I think is a big idea to think about. All right, I think we will leave it there, guys. We do these shows every Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern. Curious to see what happens between now and next week. I'm sure there'll be some more drama for better or worse. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Thanks, everybody that jumped on. Anybody's welcome to jump on any week. Please do, especially if you want to come up and talk about a particular Monero project you're working on. You can be our special guest. Andres, we'll see you in person, man. We'll see you soon, right?
I think so. In a couple of days.
Well, we'll see you at LaBitconf. Very excited for that. As Sunita said at the beginning, we are going to try to do like a small Monero meetup. We're thinking like brunch on Sunday, 11 a.m. near the conference area for any Monero people that are hanging out. Maybe we get like 10 of us together, hang out, have some coffee.
We will be over there. It's the main conference. You have many side events, but the main conference is on Friday and Saturday, I think. So either me or Doug or Sunita, at least, and I know a couple of guys as well that may be over there, Monero related guys. So we will be there. Please reach out, contact us either by Twitter or whatever if you don't know us in person, and it will be very, very nice to meet you in the flesh. And the next day, on Sunday, I suppose is the last day of the conference. Just as Doug said, maybe a meetup in the, what was in the end, lunch or?
Yeah, we're thinking brunch, like around 11.
Brunch.
I think Vive Cafe is our top choice right now, but we'll tweet it out and everybody just meet over there.
Good. Be there.
All right, guys. Everybody, thanks again. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good weekend.
Cheers.
Thank you for joining us on this week's Monerotopia episode. We stream live shows every Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern. You can find and subscribe to our show on YouTube and Odyssey, or listen to the podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or Stitcher. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or join us in the Monerotopia Telegram group. See you all next week.